Cedar Falls drowns tonight. Not the kind of rain that lashes down in fury, but a cold, steady drizzle, as if the sky itself holds back a sorrow too heavy to name. Water pools in potholes reflects the dim glow of street lamps like scattered coins on black velvet. The air tastes metallic sharp with October chill that bites through fabric and settles in bones. Ethan Hayes walks slowly through the familiar intersection after his late shift. The warehouse closed at 11 sent him home with aching shoulders and grease under his fingernails that no amount of scrubbing removes completely. His high-visibility jacket glows orange against the darkness, making his figure stand out against quiet streets that empty after 9. He's on his way home to the small house where his daughter Lily surely sleeps curled under her butterfly blanket, dreaming whatever 6-year-olds dream about. Princesses this week. Last week it was dinosaurs. She changes her favorite thing like other people change socks. His boots splash through puddles. Each step echoes off shuttered storefronts. The sound feels too loud in the emptiness, like he's disturbing something sacred about the night. Cedar Falls feels abandoned, like everyone else had the good sense to stay inside where it's warm and dry. Ethan doesn't mind rain. He's walked through worse. Walked through the night they told him Sarah didn't survive the surgery. Walked through the funeral where Lily asked why Mummy was sleeping in a box and wouldn't wake up. Walked through 3 years of putting one foot in front of the other because his daughter needed him to keep moving, keep breathing, keep being dad even when everything inside him wanted to stop. But something at the corner makes him stop now. A girl huddles beneath the awning of Ray's laundromat, soaked to the bone. Her hair hangs in tangled clumps, dark auburn, turned almost black with water. A thin jacket clings to her like a second skin designer label, visible even from here, even in this light. She doesn't beg, doesn't cry, doesn't even look around for help. She just sits there in silence like someone far too used to being forgotten by the world. Her messenger bag clutches against her chest, arms wrapped around it like it contains everything she owns. Maybe it does. Her shoulders shake slightly. Whether from cold or crying, Ethan can't tell from this distance. Ethan keeps his distance. He doesn't approach, doesn't invade her space. Years of raising a daughter taught him that sometimes people need room to breathe, need to know they can say no without consequence. But he calls out gently, his voice just loud enough to rise above the whisper of rain on pavement. "Hey." It's past midnight. "You okay out here?" The girl looks up, startled. Her eyes go wide grey as storm clouds, not angry but guarded. The kind of guarded that comes from being hurt before, from learning that kindness usually comes with a price tag attached. She's young, maybe mid-20s, with a face that belongs in warmer places. Cafes, maybe. Art galleries. Anywhere but rain-soaked streets at midnight, looking like hope died somewhere between yesterday and today. "I'm fine," she snaps, voice sharp as broken glass. "Don't need saving." Ethan doesn't flinch. He's heard that tone before, that shield people throw up, when kindness feels like weakness, when accepting help feels like admitting defeat. He just stands there, hands in pockets, non-threatening. His high-vis jacket makes him look like exactly what he is, working man on his way home. Not a threat, just someone who noticed. Not trying to save anyone, he says simply. Just figured nobody should sit in the rain when there's a perfectly good couch going to waste. Besides, my daughter taught me that helping isn't about deserving. It's about being human. The girl says nothing. Her gaze stays fixed on the dark stretch of street beyond, on something Ethan can't see. Ghosts, maybe. Futures she's running from. Water drips from her hair, runs down her face. Could be rain or could be tears. Hard to tell in this light, in this moment, suspended between rejection and acceptance. And then, without a word, she nods. Just once, barely perceptible, but Ethan sees it. Not because she trusts him, not quite. Not because she feels safe. but because sometimes a person just needs a place to breathe, even if only for a night. Sometimes cold gets so deep into your bones that pride becomes a luxury you can't afford. Sometimes you're so tired of running that even a stranger's couch sounds like salvation. They walk side by side through empty streets, not speaking. Ethan matches her pace, doesn't rush her, doesn't ask questions that would require answers she's not ready to give. The silence stretches between them, not comfortable exactly, but not uncomfortable either. Just two people walking through rain, strangers connected by circumstance and soaked jackets and the particular loneliness that only shows itself at midnight. Their footsteps sync up after half a block, an accidental rhythm in the quiet. When they reach the house, Ethan opens the door and flips the switch. The light flickers once, twice, before steadying, casting the small entryway in butter-colored glow that feels warm after the cold. The house smells like home, that particular combination of laundry detergent and old wood, and something Lily baked with Mrs. Brennan yesterday. Not fancy, but lived in. Real. The kind of smell that says people love each other here. "Shoes off on the mat," he says softly, gesturing to the worn rug by the door, where his work boots already sit, caked with mud from the warehouse. "Couch is yours tonight. There's a blanket in the cupboard beside the bookshelf. Blue one's the warmest. Bathroom's on the right. Water takes about 5 minutes to heat up, but it will eventually. Don't give up on it." She nods, fingers working at her shoelaces, struggling with wet knots that won't cooperate. Her hands shake slightly. Ethan turns away, gives her privacy, moves to the kitchen. He fills a mug with hot water from the kettle he keeps running because Lily likes hot chocolate before bed. Can't afford tea, but warmth is warmth. Places it on the small table beside the couch, along with a handwritten note on the back of an old envelope, his handwriting slanting left like it always does. "If you need to call someone, there's a landline on the wall. Please don't open the bedroom door with the butterfly sticker. My daughter's a light sleeper. She has nightmares sometimes." The girl Claire, though Ethan doesn't know her name yet, sits down slowly on the couch. The cushions sag under her weight, spring's probably gone, but it's soft enough. She wraps her hands around the cup, holding it like it's made of something precious, like warmth itself might shatter if she's not careful. The heat creeps slowly into her frozen fingers, spreads up her arms, loosens something tight in her chest that's been clenched for weeks. She reads the note once, twice, 3 times, stares at the butterfly sticker on the bedroom door, looks around this small house where a stranger just offered her shelter with no questions, no judgment, no expectations. Just an open door and a cup of hot water and a note written in careful handwriting that says, "I see you. I won't hurt you. Please don't hurt mine." Sometimes kindness doesn't need to be more than that. Ethan appears in the doorway of his own bedroom wearing pajama pants and an old t-shirt that's more holes than fabric hair, still damp from a quick shower. He pauses there, backlit by the lamp from his room, meets her eyes across the small space. "You need anything else?" Claire shakes her head. Her voice comes out smaller than she intends. "Thank you." "Welcome." He starts to close his door, then stops. Adds quietly, "Whatever you're running from, you're safe here tonight." "Okay. Nobody's going to hurt you. Nobody's going to ask questions you don't want to answer. Just rest." She nods, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. His door clicks shut softly, leaving her alone in the quiet house. Outside, rain continues its steady whisper against windows. But inside, everything feels still, protected. Like maybe the world can't reach her here just for a few hours. Just long enough to remember what safety feels like, to let her guard down long enough to close her eyes without wondering who might find her while she sleeps. She pulls the blue blanket around her shoulders. It smells like fabric softener and something else, something that might be hope or might just be the particular scent of a house where someone cares about the small things, lies down on the couch that's seen better years but smells clean, like someone washes the covers regularly, like someone takes pride in what little they have. Her eyes close. For the first time in weeks, sleep comes without fighting. No dreams of Graham's hand on her wrist, no nightmares of her father's disappointed face, no panic about where she'll go tomorrow or how she'll survive another day of running. Just sleep, deep and dark and blessedly empty. Sometimes the most radical act you can commit is opening a door when every instinct says lock it, because kindness isn't about safety or logic or protecting what's yours. Kindness is saying my warmth is your warmth, my shelter is your shelter. Come in. You don't have to deserve it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to be anything other than cold and wet and human. That's enough. That night, in a small house in Cedar Falls, two broken people find temporary shelter. One from rain. One from loneliness that's carved holes in his chest for 3 years. Neither knows yet how this moment will change everything. How one open door will become the beginning of something neither expected. How family isn't always the people you're born to, but sometimes the ones who see you drowning and throw out a line without asking why you jumped in the first place. Sometimes home finds you when you stop looking for it, when you're too tired to run and too broken to pretend you're okay, when all you have left is the truth of your own desperation and someone else's unexpected mercy. Sometimes that's exactly when everything changes. Before we continue, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. Morning light filters through the curtains, gentle as a hand smoothing wrinkled sheets after restless sleep. The kind of light that doesn't demand, just offers. Soft yellow warmth spills across the worn couch where Claire lies, momentarily disorienting her. Her eyes open to an unfamiliar ceiling, water-stained in one corner where the roof probably leaks during heavy storms. A spiderweb catches light near the window. Delicate architecture most people would destroy without noticing. But everything here feels intentional somehow, even the imperfections. She sits up slowly, runs a hand through her tangled hair, winces at the knots. Her clothes dried stiff against her skin. Overnight uncomfortable, but better than soaked. The house around her creaks and settles, morning sounds of wood expanding in daylight, pipes gurgling as someone runs water. Everything unfamiliar, yet not frightening. Her phone died 2 days ago. She has no idea what time it is. No idea if Victor's investigators found her yet. No idea what today brings, except that she's still here, still breathing, still free for one more morning. Then a burst of laughter rings out from behind the partition wall, bright as wind chimes, unmistakably a child. Pure and unguarded, the kind of laughter that hasn't learned to be self-conscious yet. "Daddy, they're burning. The eggs are on fire." The voice chimes with delight, not panic. Pure joy wrapped in disaster. "We're gonna burn the whole house down. Again." Claire stands, follows the sound through a narrow hallway barely wide enough for one person. Photos line the walls, too many to count. A younger Ethan with a beautiful dark-haired woman. Baby in their arms. The woman pregnant. The 3 of them at a park. A hospital room. Birthday parties. Then just Ethan and the baby who gets older in each frame. The woman disappears after the hospital photo. The story written in pictures, sadder than words. The kitchen barely fits 2 people, let alone 3. But there they are. A little girl around 6 with soft blonde curls stands on a wooden chair, wielding a wooden spoon like she commands the universe itself. Her pajamas have cartoon butterflies that match the sticker on her bedroom door. 1 sock on, 1 off. A gap between her front teeth visible when she smiles, this wide, this free. Beside her stands the man from last night, Ethan, holding a frying pan at a slight distance from his body, like it might explode. His expression sits somewhere between embarrassed and patient. The look of a parent who's fought this battle 1,000 times and knows he'll lose, but fights anyway because that's what love is. Eggs sizzle and smoke in the pan definitely past their prime, veering toward charcoal. Toast in the toaster glows an alarming shade of black smoke curling up toward the ceiling. The girl spots Claire in the doorway. Her eyes go round as Moon's spoon freezing mid-stir. Then she lights up like someone just told her Christmas came early, face transforming with delight. "Are you the Rain Princess?" She bounces on her chair, almost toppling it. "Daddy said someone got stuck in the storm last night, like in my fairy tale book, where the princess gets lost in the woods and the nice family helps her." Claire laughs, can't help it. A real laugh, unforced and free surprising, in how it bubbles up from somewhere she'd forgotten existed. "I suppose I am." "And who might you be? I'm Lily." The girl draws herself up to full height, which brings her maybe 4 feet tall. "I'm 6. Well, almost 7. My birthday's in spring when the butterflies come back." She points at Ethan with her spoon, sending a small shower of egg whites across the floor. "That's my daddy over there. He burns stuff a lot, but it's okay because he tries really hard." Ethan turns, his cheeks flushed from the egg mishap, and now probably embarrassment. "Morning." He clears his throat. "We're attempting breakfast, but we might need emergency services. Or at least someone who remembers what actual food looks like before it becomes charcoal." Claire glances around the kitchen. Flour dusts the counter like snow. Butter wrapper sits wadded near the sink, evidence of earlier attempts. A carton of orange juice stands open, sweating condensation rings onto the laminate. Chaos, beautiful, ordinary domestic chaos that speaks of love and effort and morning spent together even when nothing goes right. "I'm not exactly a great cook," Claire admits, stepping forward. "But I can help clean up the wreckage." "Good enough." Ethan grins, and something in that smile makes Claire's chest tight. "In this house, as long as nothing explodes, you're qualified. The bar is very, very low. The 3 of them maneuver through the small space, learning each other's rhythms. Lily spreads butter on new toast, her hands quickly covered in crumbs and golden smears. She hums while she works some tune that has no recognizable melody. Just sounds, happy, nonsensical sounds that children make when they're content. Ethan attempts the eggs again this time, with Claire watching over his shoulder, instructing him to turn down the heat. Add a splash of milk, don't scramble them so hard. Claire fumbles with pancake batter from a box, reading instructions twice, still manages to spill a bit on the floor when she tries to pour. The puddle spreads across tile white against worn linoleum. It's okay. Lily hops down from her chair, hands Claire a napkin torn from the roll. Daddy spills stuff all the time. One time he spilled orange juice on his work papers and cried a little bit. Her voice drops to a whisper, eyes wide with the memory. But then we laughed because the papers had orange juice stains that looked like butterflies. Ethan catches Claire's eye over his daughter's head-mouth. She remembers everything. Nothing is safe. Claire giggles, actually giggles like she's Lily's age, then realizes she's laughed more in the past 10 minutes than in the entire month before. Maybe the entire year. When was the last time she laughed at spilled pancake batter? When was the last time imperfection felt like perfection? They sit down around the small wooden table that wobbles slightly, one leg shorter than the others. Someone, probably Ethan, years ago, stuffed a folded napkin under it. The edges of the napkin are yellowed with age, torn at one corner, but it does the job. The eggs carry too much salt, making Claire's eyes water just slightly. The pancakes are burnt at the edges, black-brown and crispy, but when she takes a bite, the center is soft, almost sweet. Orange juice is probably the only perfect thing store-brand, but cold and sweet, and exactly what morning should taste like. But no one complains. Ethan chews thoughtfully, then says with mock seriousness, head tilted like he's considering deeply, think this might be the best breakfast all week. Claire raises an eyebrow. It's only Tuesday. Ethan winks at her, and something in that gesture makes her forget to breathe for a second. Exactly. The rest of the week doesn't stand a chance. We've peaked. It's all downhill from here. Lily nods solemnly, face perfectly serious, like this is the most obvious truth in the world, like burnt pancakes being the best thing ever makes perfect logical sense in her universe. She takes another huge bite, syrup running down her chin, getting on her pajamas. Doesn't notice or doesn't care. Claire watches them banter and tease and love each other through small gestures. The way Ethan wipes syrup from Lily's chin without thinking his thumb gentle. The way Lily kicks her feet under the table, content making her own little rhythm. The way they exist together in comfortable silence between words, no pressure to fill every moment with conversation. They've learned each other. They're fluent in each other's language of love. Understanding dawns slowly warm as morning sun through those curtains. Family isn't the place you're born into. It's not the house with your last name on the mailbox, or the people who share your DNA, or the ones who have legal claim to you. Family is the place where someone pulls out a chair for you at the table, even when you bring nothing but rain-soaked shoulders and a past you can't explain. Where burnt toast tastes like belonging, because someone made it for you, tried for you, cared enough to burn it trying. Where a 6-year-old hands you a napkin and says everyone spills things, and means it's okay to be imperfect here. Family is where you're seen, where you're heard, where someone makes space for you even when there's barely enough room for the people already there. Where love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, trying, choosing each other every morning even when the eggs burn and the pancakes stick and nothing goes according to plan. After breakfast, Claire helps wash dishes while Ethan dries. Lily plays with blocks in the living room, building elaborate structures that defy physics and gravity and probably several laws of engineering. Her tongue pokes out in concentration, exactly like her father's does when he's focusing. On the refrigerator held by alphabet magnets that are missing half the letters, Claire sees photographs. Ethan younger, maybe 30, with a beautiful woman with dark hair and kind eyes that crinkle when she smiles. Between them, baby Lily, maybe 6 months old, chubby and grinning toothlessly. All three smiling at the camera like nothing bad could ever happen, like they've figured out the secret to happiness, and it's just this being together. Lily notices Claire looking. That's Mommy. She lives in heaven now. She doesn't look sad. Just matter of fact, the way children accept truths they can't change. Because what choice do they have? Daddy says she watches over us from the stars. Sometimes when it's really dark, I try to find her. But there's too many stars. I don't know which one she is. Claire's heart clenches so hard she has to grip the counter. She glances at Ethan, sees his hands pause in the dishwater jaw, tightens just slightly. A muscle jumps in his cheek. He doesn't turn around, doesn't acknowledge Lily's comment. Just continues scrubbing the same plate he's been scrubbing for 30 seconds now. The grief in that gesture, in that continued motion, in that refusal to meet anyone's eyes, says more than words ever could. After a moment, he speaks quietly. Voice rough. Lily, can you go get dressed? We need to leave for Mrs. Brennan's in 20 minutes. Remember, she's taking you to the park today. Okay, Daddy. Lily bounces off already, singing another made-up song about butterflies and rainstorms and princesses who wear pajamas. Ethan and Claire stand in silence. The kitchen feels smaller suddenly. Claire doesn't know what to say. What do you say to someone who's lost everything? What words exist that don't sound hollow? Finally, Claire says softly, I'm sorry. About your wife. Ethan nods, still doesn't meet her eyes. 3 years ago. Car accident. Black ice came out of nowhere. You never see it until you're spinning. The car hit the tree on her side. Passenger side. He stops, swallows hard. I remember the sound, metal crushing, glass exploding. Sarah gasping once, then nothing. His hands grip the edge of the sink knuckles white. I walked away with bruises. Bruises. She didn't even make it to the hospital. Gone before the ambulance arrived. And I couldn't. His voice breaks. I was right there, and I couldn't save her. How old was Lily 3? Just turned 3 2 weeks before. She doesn't remember much now. Sometimes she looks at pictures like they're strangers, like Sarah's just some woman who used to be in our house. That's the hardest part. Watching her forget. Claire doesn't know what to say to that. There are no words for watching your child forget their mother. No comfort that doesn't sound cheap. So she just stands beside him, present witnessing his pain, without trying to fix it, because some things can't be fixed, only carried. After a moment, Ethan clears his throat, visibly, pulling himself together. Changes the subject with effort that shows in his voice. I know the owner of Ray's laundromat on Oak Street. They're short-staffed right now. Minimum wage and steam in your face all day, but if you want to give it a try, I can take you over. No pressure, just an option if you need one. Claire stares at him. She's not used to people offering her options. Her whole life has been dictates. You will attend this school. You will major in business. You will marry Graham. You will smile at the camera. You will be grateful. No one ever said, here's a door, you can open it or not, your choice, and I won't judge either way. She finds herself nodding, not trusting her voice. Okay. Ethan finally looks at her. Really looks. What's your name? I realize I never asked. Didn't seem right to ask last night when you were so lost. Claire supplies. I was lost. Are you still? She considers the question. Looks at this kitchen with its flour-dusted counters. At Lily singing in the other room. At Ethan with grief in his eyes, but kindness too. Always kindness. Am I still lost if I'm starting to think I might have been found? Ethan smiles, small but real. Philosophical for this early. I'm Ethan. Ethan Hayes. Claire. She almost adds the last name, stops herself at the last second. Just Claire. Well, just Claire. Welcome to Cedar Falls. It's not much, but it's home. 15 minutes later, Lily appears in a mismatched outfit that could only have been chosen by a 6-year-old. Tutu over jeans. Rain boots, even though the sun's out now. Butterfly wings, she insists, are necessary. Ethan doesn't even blink at the combination clearly used to his daughter's fashion choices. Claire finds this endearing somehow, that he lets her be herself, lets her wear tutus with jeans, if that's what makes her happy. Lily throws herself at Claire's legs in a hug that nearly topples both of them. Force of small bodies and big feelings. Come back tonight, please, please, please. We can have burnt dinner too. It's usually worse than breakfast. Claire laughs, kneels down, finds herself smoothing Lily's wild curls without thinking. I'll come back. Promise. Lily studies her face like she's trying to memorize it, like adults have disappeared on her before, and she needs to make sure this one's real. You promise, not fake promise, because Tommy's mom promised to bring cookies and she didn't. And Tommy cried. Promise, Claire says, solemnly. Cross my heart. At the doorway, Ethan's eyes meet Claire's over his daughter's head. Unspoken understanding passes between them, charged and significant, and neither knows quite what to do with it. Something shifts in the air, subtle as breath, significant as earthquake. The house feels different. The morning feels different. They feel different. Neither knows that this moment, this burnt breakfast, this small kitchen will become the memory they look back on as the beginning. The exact moment when the before ended and the after began. When you can pinpoint exactly when your life changed direction, when you can say with certainty there, right there with syrup on the table and flour in the air and a 6-year-old in butterfly wings, That's when everything I thought I knew stopped being true. That's when everything I needed started becoming real. Sometimes it's not the grand gestures that change your life. Sometimes it's eggs with too much salt and a 6-year-old who says, "Come back." Sometimes it's a man who lost everything and still makes room at his table for a stranger. Sometimes family finds you in the last place you thought to look, wearing the last face you expected. Sometimes home is a small house with a crooked mailbox and a child in mismatched clothes and pancakes burnt perfect around the edges. Ray's laundromat sits on the corner of Oak and Fifth, its painted sign peeling at the edges like old sunburn. Windows fog with steam that never fully clears condensation, running down glass in rivers. The scent of detergent hangs so thick in the air, you can taste it on your tongue, chemical and floral at once, coating your throat. Industrial washers line one wall, their doors open like hungry mouths waiting to be fed. Dryers tumble constant rhythm white noise that becomes comforting after a while if you let it. Ray Chen stands behind the counter weathered face, holding 70 years of stories in every wrinkle. His eyes carry kindness and shrewdness in equal measure, the look of someone who's seen everything twice and learned to tell truth from lies at a glance. When Ethan walks in with Claire, Ray looks up from sorting quarters into paper rolls, assesses the situation in seconds, with the kind of perception that comes from watching people really watching them your whole life. "You're a friend of Ethan's?" he asks Claire directly. No preamble, no judgment in his voice. Just question. Claire nods, not sure what else to say. Not sure how to explain that she met this man 12 hours ago. And somehow he's already more family than her father's been in years. Ray studies her for a long moment. Designer jeans under the dirt and rain damage. Expensive jacket despite the tears in the fabric. Hands too soft for manual labor nails that were recently manicured, though they're chipped now. But something in her eyes, that desperate edge, that hunted look, tells him everything he needs to know without asking. Running from something. Needs a place to land. Needs to disappear into work where nobody asks questions. He pulls an apron from under the counter. "Grab this. Start now. Pay is minimum wage cash at the end of each day. No paperwork if you don't want paperwork. You show up on time, work hard, we get along fine. You steal or cause trouble, you're gone. Clear, clear." Claire takes the apron, ties it around her waist with fingers that shake slightly. Ethan touches her shoulder briefly. "You'll do great. I'll come by after my shift." She nods, tries to smile. Feels it wobble on her face. After he leaves, the space feels bigger somehow, emptier. Claire realizes she's been using Ethan as a shield without meaning to, standing in his shadow where she felt safer. Now it's just her and this weathered man and the endless machines and the work she's never done before. Ray shows her the basics. How to sort lights from darks. How to measure detergent, not too much, or bubbles overflow and you spend an hour mopping floors. How to fold the endless stream of towels and uniforms and sheets that constitute their daily work. Nothing complicated. Nothing that requires a business degree or corporate training or her father's connections. Just labor, honest and endless. The first hour passes in a blur. Claire's hands soft from years of lotion and manicures, and having other people do physical work for her quickly turn red from hot water and rough fabric. By noon, her back aches in muscles she didn't know existed, protesting movements she's never asked of her body before. By 2, her fingers feel raw skin cracking around the nails, calluses trying to form but not fast enough. By 4, she wants to cry, but won't let herself because Ray is watching, and she refuses to be that girl who gives up, refuses to prove her father right, that she can't survive outside his protection. She thinks about her apartment in Minneapolis, the one with heated floors that turned on automatically, no thought required. The woman named Maria, who came twice a week to clean, who Claire barely spoke to, beyond hello and thank you, who she tipped well at Christmas, like that made up for not knowing her last name. Her closet full of clothes worn once, then donated because what else do you do with things that no longer spark joy? Her life of comfort purchased by her father's money, cushioned by wealth she never earned, never questioned, never thought to refuse until it suffocated her. How easy everything was when the only thing she had to do was exist as Victor Whitman's daughter. Show up at events, smile at cameras, let her father make every decision. Let Graham's hand rest possessively on her waist. Let her life be written by other people while she just played the part, memorized the lines, hit her marks. Around 3:30, Claire steps out back for air. The alley behind the laundromat smells like dumpsters and rain-soaked cardboard. Not pleasant, but real. The wind slips through a crack between buildings, dries the sweat-matted strands of hair clinging to her forehead. She sits on an overturned crate that's seen better days, unlaces her old shoes with fingers that don't want to cooperate anymore. These shoes are the only thing she kept from before. Designer sneakers that once cost more than Ray probably makes in a week, purchased without looking at the price because money was never real to her, just numbers on a screen her father controlled. Now they're nearly torn apart at the heel sole, separating from the body laces frayed. Her feet throb with each heartbeat. A blister has risen angry and red on her big toe, already popped raw and weeping. She wants to give up. Not because she's weak, but because for the first time in her life, she's truly standing on her own 2 feet. No father's money, no arranged future. No safety net stretching beneath her in case she falls. Just her and her blistered hands, and the reality that freedom is heavier than she expected, costs more than she imagined. Ray appears in the doorway. Doesn't say anything, just takes in the scene. Her unlaced shoes, her exhausted posture. Her hands trembling slightly, even at rest. He nods once, understanding something she hasn't said, then goes back inside without comment. Not judgment, not pity, just acknowledgement that she's hurting, and that's allowed. That evening, Claire walks back to Ethan's house, each step agony. Her feet scream protest with every impact on pavement. But she keeps her promise. Returns for dinner. True to prediction, Ethan makes spaghetti that's slightly overcooked sauce from a jar, warmed up garlic bread that's more garlic than bread. But it's food made with care, served with love, eaten with laughter, as Lily tells elaborate stories about her day at the park, involving a frog named Frederick, who she's sure talked to her even though Mrs. Brennan says frogs don't talk. Normal. Everything so wonderfully, painfully normal. The kind of normal Claire's never had. Dinners at her father's house were catered affairs, or silent restaurants, where speaking felt like interruption. Graham never cooked, called it women's work even though he'd never say that publicly, saved his real opinions for private, where they couldn't hurt his image. This is what she ran toward. This spaghetti that's too soft and garlic bread that's too garlicky, and a child who insists frogs can talk if you listen right. This is what freedom tastes like. That night, Claire sleeps on the couch again, Ethan insisting she stay until she finds something more permanent. But they both know she has nowhere else to go. No money for deposits, no references that don't lead back to her father, no past she can explain without revealing who she is. Just this couch, and this family, and this small house that keeps expanding to fit one more. The next morning, when Claire steps onto the porch heading to Ray's, she sees them. Shoes. Bright white canvas shoes, simple and new, unbranded, but clearly purchased recently. Her size. Exactly her size. She knows because she stands there staring at them. Brain not quite processing. Tucked inside the left shoe, a neatly folded slip of paper in soft, slanted handwriting that tilts left like it's leaning into itself. If you must walk, walk without pain. Claire stands frozen on the porch. The morning breeze whispers through the rafters overhead. Sparrows chirp quietly on the power lines, having their morning conversations. Somewhere down the street, someone starts a lawnmower engine coughing to life. A car passes. Dog barks. Ordinary Tuesday morning sounds. Nothing remarkable happens. No music swells. No profound moment announces itself with trumpets and declarations. But Claire picks up those shoes with trembling hands, traces the note with her fingers, feeling the pen indent on certain words where he pushed harder. If you must walk, walk without pain. Reads it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times until the words blur because her eyes are filling and she can't quite breathe right. No one's ever paid attention to her feet before, not in her entire life. People noticed which designer shoes she wore to galas, which heels were this season's style, which brand signaled the right status. Her father's publicist had opinions on her footwear choices for events. Graham commented when she wore flats because it made her shorter than him, and he didn't like that. But no one ever noticed whether her steps hurt, whether she limped at the end of long events, whether blisters bled into expensive stockings, whether pain was the price of looking right. Ethan noticed. This man she's known for 48 hours noticed her pain and did something about it. Quietly, without announcement. Just left shoes on the porch like it was nothing. Like kindness was as simple as breathing, like seeing someone hurt, and easing that hurt was just what you do. Basic human decency that shouldn't require recognition or praise. Claire sits down right there on the porch step. New shoes in her lap, and cries, not sad tears, not tears of grief or loss or fear, grateful tears, overwhelmed tears, the kind that come when you've been cold so long you forgot what warmth feels like, and then someone wraps a blanket around your shoulders and you remember. You remember what it means to be seen, to be cared for, to matter to someone without having to earn it or deserve it or pay for it with pieces of yourself you'll never get back. She puts on the shoes. They fit perfectly. The fabric breathes. The sole cushions. Her blister gets room to heal instead of rubbing raw against worn leather. Such a small thing, a pair of cheap canvas shoes from the discount store. But they feel like the most expensive gift she's ever received because they came from someone who saw her, really saw her, and chose to ease her pain without asking for anything in return. Inside the kitchen, Ethan watches from the window, sees her crying, wants to go out, ask if she's okay. But something tells him to stay, to let her have this moment. He doesn't know her full story yet. Doesn't know about Victor Whitman or arranged marriages or penthouses in Minneapolis. Doesn't know she's been running from a life that looked perfect from outside but felt like prison from within. He just knows she needed shoes, that her feet hurt yesterday, that she tried to hide it, but he saw her limping, saw her wince when she thought no one was looking. So he went to the discount store on his break, found shoes in her size, left them on the porch. Simple math. Problem and solution. Nothing more complicated than that. But to Claire, it's everything. She walks to Ray's that morning wearing those white shoes. Each step doesn't hurt. The blister on her toe gets room to breathe and heal. The ache in her heels eases because the support is better, the cushioning adequate. Such a small change. A pair of shoes. But sometimes small changes make all the difference between surviving and actually living. At the laundromat, Ray notices immediately. New shoes. Claire nods, can't quite speak yet without crying again. Ray smiles, knows without asking who gave them to her. That boy's got a good heart. Lost his wife, could have turned bitter. Didn't. Stayed kind. That's rare. You hold on to people like that when you find them. I just met him. Doesn't matter. Some people you know immediately. Some connections don't need time to prove themselves true. Ray goes back to sorting laundry. You'll see. The day passes easier somehow. Still hard work. Still hot and exhausting and endless. But Claire's feet don't scream. She can focus on the task instead of the pain. discovers there's something meditative about it when you let yourself sink in. Something honest about washing and folding and making things clean. Something that feels like progress, like accomplishment, like maybe she's good at something that doesn't require her father's name or Graham's approval. A homeless man comes in around 2 dragging a garbage bag of laundry. Daniel Ray calls him, says it casual like they're friends. Daniel counts out coins carefully. Quarters, mostly a few dimes, 2 nickels he apologizes for. Exact change for 1 wash, 1 dry. 75 cents. He sits in the corner, waiting, eyes down, making himself small, like he's used to being invisible, used to taking up as little space as possible. Claire watches him. Sees herself 2 nights ago. Invisible. Desperate. Trying not to be seen because being seen means being vulnerable, means being hurt. When Daniel's clothes finish, she folds them carefully. As carefully as she once folded cashmere sweaters in her temperature-controlled bedroom. As carefully as these items deserve, because everyone deserves to have their things treated with dignity. She finds a scrap of clean ribbon Ray keeps for alterations, ties the stack together like a gift. The man looks surprised when she hands them back neat stacks instead of wrinkled pile pulled from the dryer and shoved in the bag. His eyes fill with something that might be tears or might just be recognition that someone saw him as human. "Thank you," he says quietly. Voice rough from disuse. Claire smiles. "Thank you," she says back, meaning it. Meaning thank you for letting me help. Thank you for reminding me that everyone's fighting something. Thank you for being kind when I'm sure people aren't kind to you. Later, Ray pulls her aside. "You didn't have to do that." "The ribbon. The folding. I know. But you did anyway." Claire shrugs. "Someone gave me shoes today. I'm just passing it forward." Ray chuckles, shakes his head. "You're gonna fit right in here, girl." That night, walking home in shoes that don't hurt, Claire thinks about gifts. Growing up, her father gave her everything. Cars on her 16th birthday, jewelry for every occasion, credit cards without limits, a penthouse apartment when she turned 21. But none of it felt like gifts. They felt like obligations, strings attached to every present, expectations woven into every gesture. Love measured in dollar signs, affection calculated by expense, worth determined by price tags. These shoes cost maybe $20, probably less. But they're the first gift that felt like gift. No strings, no expectations. Just someone seeing pain and choosing to ease it. Just kindness for kindness's sake. Just someone saying without words, "I see you hurting. Let me help. You don't have to earn this. You don't have to pay me back. Just accept it and walk easier." And sometimes that's worth more than all the designer shoes in all the closets in all the penthouses combined. Sometimes the most valuable things can't be purchased with credit cards or measured in dollars. Sometimes they're just white canvas shoes and a note that says, "If you must walk, walk without pain." Sometimes the greatest gift is someone seeing your invisible suffering and making it visible, acknowledged, cared for. Sometimes home is wherever someone notices you're limping and does something about it without making you ask. 2 weeks pass in a rhythm that begins to feel like normal, like routine. Like maybe this could be a life instead of just borrowed time. Claire wakes on the couch before dawn, folds her blanket with military precision, starts coffee that fills the house with warmth and bitter comfort. Together they tackle breakfast, burning less frequently, now developing a choreography in the small kitchen where they've learned each other's movements. She walks to Ray's wearing the white canvas shoes that no longer look new but feel like home. Works until 5, hands growing calloused instead of raw, back growing stronger instead of just aching. Returns to find Lily doing homework at the table, tongue poking out in concentration exactly like Ethan's does, making the connection between them visible even though they share no blood. Lily draws constantly. Pictures cover the refrigerator, now held by alphabet magnets and memories. 3 stick figures appear in most drawings, tall one labelled Daddy, small one labelled Me, medium, one labelled Miss Claire. All holding hands under a sun that always smiles. Hearts float between them like balloons. In one picture they're at a park, in another they're at the breakfast table. In every single one they're together. Claire finds herself in these pictures, in this routine, in this life she never planned. Finds herself thinking less about Minneapolis, about the penthouse sitting empty, about the life she left behind like shed skin. That girl who wore designer clothes and attended charity galas and smiled for cameras feels like a stranger now, someone she used to know but can't quite remember being. Then she notices Ethan's exhaustion deepening like bruises under his eyes. The shadows grow darker. His hands shake slightly when he pours morning coffee liquid sloshing against ceramic. One day she finds him asleep, standing up at the counter, body swaying on his feet, eyes closed, still holding a spatula, like his brain forgot to tell his hands to stop working. She touches his shoulder gently, and he startles awake, disoriented, apologizes like being tired is something shameful, something to hide. "I'm fine," he insists, but his voice tells another story. "When did you last sleep?" "Few hours. I'm fine." But he's not fine. She sees it in the way he moves, careful and slow, like his body might give out. Sees it in the way he forgets what he's saying mid-sentence. Sees it in the tremor in his hands that wasn't there 2 weeks ago. She asks Ray about it while sorting towels, whites with whites, colors with colors, methodical and meditative. Ray stops folding, leans against the counter. That boy works himself to bone. Warehouse 7 to 3 every day, then deliveries 10 at night until 2 in the morning. Sleeps maybe 3 hours if he's lucky. Been doing it since Sarah died. 3 years of burning himself out. Pride won't let him ask for help. Stubbornness won't let him admit he's drowning. Claire frowns. What deliveries? Laundry service. Small businesses, nursing homes, anyone who needs clean linens delivered overnight when nobody wants to do it. I pay him extra for it, but not enough. Not for what it costs him. Not for what he sacrifices. Why doesn't he hire someone? Can't afford to. Barely makes enough to cover bills as it is. House needs repairs. Lily needs things kids need. He chooses her over sleep every time. Ray's voice goes soft with something like admiration, something like concern. He's a good father. Maybe too good. Forgets to take care of himself. That evening, Claire waits on Ethan's porch until 10. Moths circle the porch light, casting dancing shadows. Night air carries the scent of someone's barbecue. Someone's normal evening while Ethan prepares for another shift when his body needs rest. When he emerges carrying keys and looking dead on his feet, she stands from the step where she's been sitting. "I'm coming with you." Ethan stops mid-step. "You don't have to do that." "I want to." She crosses her arms, stance firm. "I want to see how you work. At the very least, I don't want to always be the one being helped. Let me help for once." He studies her face in the yellow porch light, sees she won't back down, sees something in her eyes that reminds him of Sarah, who also refused to take no for an answer. Nods once, slowly. "Okay." But it's boring work. Long drives, heavy bags, nobody talks much. "I can handle boring." The truck rumbles through quiet streets, street lights stretching like golden threads across darkness. The cab smells like old coffee and laundry detergent and years of hard work. Radio plays something low country music that Ethan hums along to without seeming to notice. They stop at a few homes, drop off clean linens, knock softly on doors that don't open, move on. No one shows their faces, but sometimes behind curtains, eyes peek out, then gently close again. People who need clean things but can't afford to show themselves. People who pay what they can when they can, and Ray doesn't ask questions because some things matter more than profit. Between stops, they talk. Real conversation, not small talk. The kind that happens in the dark when defenses are down and tiredness makes truth easier than lies. "How long have you been doing this?" Claire asks. Watching streetlights blur past her window. "Since Sarah died. 3 years and 2 months. He pauses. 3 years, 2 months, and 5 days if we're counting. Sometimes I count. Tell me about her, if you want." Ethan's hands tighten on the steering wheel, knuckles going white. Then slowly he starts talking. "We were high school sweethearts. Cliché, right? But true. Met sophomore year. She was in art class, painting something abstract and beautiful that I didn't understand. I asked her to explain it, and she talked for 20 minutes straight. I didn't understand a word, but I loved watching her face when she talked about color and meaning and emotion." He smiles, small and sad. "She wanted to be an art teacher. We were going to save up, send her to school after I got through mine. Then Lily came along. Surprise, baby. We were 27, thought we had time. Turns out life has other plans." He glances at Claire. "But we were happy. Poor but happy. Never seemed to matter that we didn't have much. We had each other. We had our girl. That was enough." His voice drops lower, rougher. "We were driving home from her parents' house, late November, right before Thanksgiving. Highway 9. Black ice came out of nowhere. You never see it until you're spinning. You never have time to react. The car hit the tree on her side. Passenger side. He stops, swallows hard. I remember the sound. Metal crushing, glass exploding. This screaming sound that I realized later was me, not her. Sarah gasped once, just once, then nothing. Her eyes were open, but she wasn't there anymore. Gone before she could be scared. Gone before I could tell her I loved her one more time. Gone before Lily woke up screaming in the back seat." Claire's hand moves across the seat, finds his on the steering wheel. Doesn't speak. What words exist for this? What comfort holds weight against that kind of loss? So she just touches him. Brief. Warm. Says nothing because sometimes silence is the only honest response to grief this deep. After a long moment, Ethan's fingers curl around hers. Just for a second. Just long enough for her to feel his pulse in his palm, rapid and alive, despite the death he's describing. Then he pulls away gently, needs both hands to drive, needs distance to finish the story. I walked away with bruises. Bruises. Some cuts on my face from the glass. Lily had a broken arm. That was it. Sarah took the impact. Took all of it. Died protecting us without even knowing she was doing it. His eyes fill, but don't spill. I couldn't breathe for a year. Couldn't think. Mrs. Brennan took Lily most days because I couldn't function. Couldn't remember to feed her. Couldn't remember to talk, just sat and stared and wondered why I got to keep breathing when Sarah didn't. "How did you get through it, Lily?" He says it simply. One day she climbed into my lap and said, "Daddy, you're scaring me." And I realized I had a choice. Die with Sarah or live for Lily. So I chose Lily. Get up every morning, go to work, come home, repeat. Eventually breathing hurt less. Eventually I could think about Sarah without wanting to scream. Eventually I could look at Lily without seeing Sarah's eyes and breaking apart. Claire's throat tightens. Lily doesn't remember her face anymore, does she? No. She looks at pictures like they're strangers. Sometimes she makes up stories about Sarah, things that couldn't have happened, and I don't correct her because, what does it matter? At least she's trying to remember something. That's what you're terrified of, that she'll forget completely. Ethan nods. Every day Sarah gets a little more distant. Every day Lily knows her less. One day she'll just be a name, just a woman who died, not a person who loved her. Not a mother who sang her to sleep every night. Just history. She won't forget the important parts. Claire squeezes his hand again. She knows love. She knows you loved Sarah. She knows Sarah loved her. That's what matters. Not faces or specific memories, the feeling underneath. You've taught her that. Ethan glances at her, something shifting in his expression. You sound like you've lost someone. My mother. Cancer when I was 15. Claire's turn to stare out the window. She was sick for 2 years. Lung cancer, even though she never smoked. Just bad luck. Bad genetics. Bad everything. By the end, she didn't look like herself, but I remember how she made me feel. Safe. Seen. Loved. I don't remember the last words she said. Can't picture her face without looking at photos anymore. But I remember the feeling of being her daughter. That's what Lily has with Sarah, yeah. That's what she has. They drive in silence for a while, both processing, both carrying their grief like passengers in the back seat that never quite leave. At house number 7, Claire insists on taking the delivery. I can do this one. It's light. Ethan hesitates. Be careful of the dog. They usually keep it chained, but check first. I will. She takes the bag, steps out of the truck into cool night air. The house stretches dark, no lights on curtains drawn. She places the bag carefully on the doorstep, straightening the edges so it looks neat, trying to do this job well. Because it matters to Ethan, which means it matters to her now. About to turn around when a loud bark explodes from the backyard. A large, shaggy dog charges toward her from behind the fence, and she sees too late that the gate swings open, unlatched, banging against its post in the wind. Panic seizes her. The animal rushes closer, massive and loud, and all teeth and fury. She stumbles over the edge of the curb. Her ankle, twisting sharply, sends her crashing hard to the ground. Her hand scrapes against rough cement skin, tears open like paper blood wells, immediately hot and shocking. Pain shoots up her leg, white-hot, and immediate stealing breath from her lungs. Back up. Ethan's voice thunders behind her. She's never heard him shout. Didn't know he could sound that commanding, that terrifying in his authority. The dog halts just before reaching her, confused by the power in his voice, then turns back into the yard as if it had simply been doing its job, checking for intruders, finding none. But Ethan's already at her side, dropping to his knees on the cold pavement. His face drains of color, going pale in the streetlight, eyes wide with something beyond fear. Terror. Pure, undiluted terror. His hands reach for her shoulders, trembling like leaves in a storm. Are you okay? She forces herself upright, swallowing the sharp ache in her ankle that pulses with each heartbeat. It's fine. Just scraped up. Ethan doesn't answer. He looks at her, then bows his head. Presses both hands to his forehead like he's trying to hold his skull together. Breathes hard like he's just run a marathon, like he's just witnessed something catastrophic, like the world just ended and somehow started again. I told you to wait in the truck, he murmurs, finally. Voice hoarse and broken. I thought I could handle it. He doesn't yell, doesn't scold. But when he turns away to check the gate, making sure it's secure, she sees his shoulders shake. Sees him fighting something bigger than anger. His terror isn't from annoyance, it's from fear. Deep, bone-shaking fear. Fear she'd gotten hurt. Fear something worse could have happened. Fear that he'd watched someone he cared about get hurt and couldn't stop it. Again. No one's ever yelled at me because they were scared I'd get hurt, Claire says quietly, still sitting on the wet grass, ankle throbbing. Ethan turns back to her, his gaze softened, but still carrying that fear. I wasn't yelling. You were. In your way. He kneels again, helps her stand, supports her weight against his side. She can feel him shaking. "Let's get you to the truck." Back in the cab, he pulls out a small first aid kit from the glove compartment, hand still trembling as he opens it. Cleans her scraped palm with gentle precision, antiseptic stinging, but his touch so careful, she barely feels it. His fingers are tender on her skin, treating her like she's made of something breakable and precious, something that might shatter if he's not careful enough. "Why does it matter so much?" she asks quietly, watching his face in the dim overhead light. "I'm just some girl you let sleep on your couch. A stranger." Ethan pauses, meets her eyes. "You're not just some girl. Not anymore. You're Lily's friend. You're part of our routine now. Part of our family. You're someone I—" He stops, voice breaking. "Someone I care about. And I can't lose anyone else. Not like that. Not watching it happen and being unable to stop it. Not again." The weight of those words settles between them, heavy and significant. Sarah. He's still haunted by the accident, by being unable to save his wife, by watching her die, and being powerless to change it. Still carries that guilt like stones in his pockets, like chains around his ankles, dragging him down every single day. "You didn't lose me," Claire whispers. "I'm right here. This time." "What, this time you're okay? But what about next time? What if next time the dog doesn't stop? What if next time I'm not fast enough? What if—" She cuts him off by taking his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. "You can't live like that. You can't carry every possible disaster around with you. Sarah's death wasn't your fault, and what happened tonight wasn't your fault either. I made a choice. I'm okay. But you might not have been. But I am." They stare at each other in the truck cab, inches apart, breathing the same air. Something shifts again, deeper this time. Not just attraction. Recognition. The understanding that they're both carrying grief. Both terrified of loss. Both pretending to be stronger than they feel. They finish the route in loaded silence. Not uncomfortable, but charged with everything unsaid. Back at the house, Mrs. Brennan has Lily for the night, as usual, house empty and quiet. Ethan helps Claire inside, makes her sit on the couch, props her ankle up with pillows that smell like fabric softener and home, brings ice wrapped in a dish towel printed with faded sunflowers. "You don't have to fuss," Claire protests. "Yes, I do." "Why? Because." He sits beside her, exhaustion written in every line of his body. "Because when I saw you fall, when I saw that dog charging for a second, I was back in that car, back watching someone I care about get hurt, and being too slow, too far, too useless. And I can't." His voice breaks completely this time. "I can't do that again. I can't survive that again." Claire's hand finds his in the dim living room. "You won't have to. I'm careful. Usually. Usually isn't good enough. It'll have to be. Because I'm not going to stop living because you're scared of losing me." The words land hard. Ethan looks at her, really looks, and sees her strength. Sees that she's not some fragile thing to be protected. She's survived her own disasters, made her own escapes, built her own courage. She doesn't need a savior, just someone who sees her clearly and chooses to stay anyway. "Okay," he says finally. "But next time, wear better shoes for dog encounters." She laughs, despite everything. "These are the only shoes I have. You gave them to me, remember? Then we'll get you boots. Steel-toed, military grade." They sit in the quiet house, her ankle elevated, his hand in hers, both shaken, and both realizing that somewhere between burnt pancakes and night deliveries, between laundromat work and shared silences, they've become something to each other. Not just stranger and host. Not just friends. Something undefined and terrifying and more real than either expected. Love doesn't arrive with trumpets and declarations. It shows up quietly in midnight kitchens, in scraped knees and gentle hands, in the way someone's fear for you feels like coming home. It creeps in through small moments until one day you realize you can't imagine life without that person in it. Until the thought of them getting hurt makes your heart stop. Until their pain becomes your pain and their joy becomes your joy. And somewhere along the way they stopped being separate from you and started being essential. That night, Ethan lets Claire sleep on the couch, her ankle wrapped and elevated. He sits in the armchair across from her, refusing to go to his room, needing to stay where he can see her breathing, where he can make sure she's okay, where he can keep watch, like that might protect her from every danger the world holds. She wakes once around 3 a.m., finds him still there, head tilted back, mouth slightly open, finally sleeping, sitting up because he couldn't make himself leave. She pulls the blanket higher, lets him sleep, doesn't wake him to tell him to go to bed. Just watches him in the dim light and thinks about this man who cares so much it terrifies him. This man who's lost everything and still opens his door to strangers. This man who works himself to exhaustion to give his daughter everything she needs. This man she's falling for without meaning to, without permission, without any plan for what comes next. And maybe that's okay. Maybe love doesn't need a plan. Maybe it just needs this two broken people choosing to be less broken together. Two terrified people choosing to be brave anyway. Two strangers who stopped being strangers somewhere between the first night and tonight, between the first cup of hot water, and this moment where everything feels different, feels significant, feels like standing at the edge of something they can't take back once they step forward. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's everything. 3 weeks pass since that rainy night that changed everything. Claire's routine solidifies into something that feels like life instead of borrowed time. She wakes before Ethan. Most mornings now folds her blanket with precision. Starts coffee that fills the house with warmth. Together they tackle breakfast, burning less frequently, learning each other's rhythms in the small kitchen. Toast only slightly blackened. Eggs almost right. Small victories that feel like large ones. She walks to Ray's wearing the white canvas shoes that no longer look new, fabric-stained, and wearing thin in places. But they fit her life now. Works until 5, hands no longer blistering but calloused back, no longer aching but strong. Returns to find Lily doing homework at the table, tongue poking out in concentration, drawing pictures in the margins of her math worksheets. Lily draws constantly. More pictures appear on the refrigerator each week. 3 stick figures in most daddy tall and strong. Me small with yellow hair, Miss Claire in the middle holding both their hands. All under a sun that always smiles. Hearts floating everywhere. In one picture they're at a park with swings. In another they're eating breakfast smoke rising from toast. In every single one they're together. Family, without saying the word. One evening, Lily shows Ethan her latest masterpiece, while Claire washes dishes. The 3 of them at a house that looks like this house. Flowers growing in a garden, they don't have a dog that doesn't exist yet. Is Miss Claire gonna stay forever and ever? Ethan kneels to her level, choosing words carefully like walking through a minefield where any wrong step might explode. I don't know, Lilybug. Sometimes people stay. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes things change even when we don't want them to. But I want her to stay. Lily insists, bottom lip trembling. I know. Me too. The admission slips out before he can stop it. Lily studies his face with that uncanny perception children have seeing through adult walls like they're made of glass. You love her, don't you, Daddy? Ethan's breath catches. Wasn't expecting that question. Isn't ready to answer it. Where'd you get that idea, sweetheart? I see how you look at her. Like how you looked at Mommy in pictures. But different, too. Like she makes your sad face into happy sad face. Happy sad, the perfect description for what he feels. Grief and joy tangled together. The guilt of moving forward mixed with the relief of feeling alive again. Ethan pulls his daughter close, breathes in her shampoo scent. Yeah, maybe I do. But it's complicated. Why? Lily pulls back, face scrunched in confusion. You love her. She loves you. I love both of you. That's not complicated. That's just family. Adults make things complicated, sweetheart. That's silly. Yeah, Ethan smiles despite himself. It really is. At Ray's, Claire masters the rhythm of washing and folding. Her hands no longer blister calluses forming thick and earned. She knows regular customers now, their preferences, their stories. Mrs. Patterson likes her towels folded in thirds edges perfectly aligned. Mr. Kim needs his uniform starched, crisp, military sharp. Daniel comes twice a week now, saving quarters in a jar he keeps in his cart. Always counts exact change. Claire still ties his clothes with ribbon. Ray pretends not to notice, still treats him like he matters because he does, everyone does. Ray watches her work with approval, leaning against the counter during slow afternoon hours. You're good at this? Claire laughs, sorting whites from colors by touch now, not even looking. I don't think folding laundry is a natural talent anyone aspires to. Not the folding, the caring. You treat every piece like it belongs to someone important. Because to you it does. Everyone is important. See, Ray grins. Natural. Can't teach that. Either you see people or you don't. You see them. One Tuesday afternoon, sorting through a bag from an unfamiliar customer whose name she doesn't recognize on the tag, Claire's hands touch something that isn't fabric. Hard. Cold. Metal catching light. She pulls it out slowly, breath stopping in her chest. The sapphire necklace. Her mother's necklace. The only thing she has left of Caroline Whitman, who died when Claire was 15, who spent her last months making Claire promise things she's only now beginning to understand. Don't let anyone turn you into something you're not. Not even your father. Especially not your father. The teardrop-shaped gem catches afternoon light streaming through the steamy windows, sends blue sparkles dancing across white walls like tiny galaxies. Crystal clear, white gold setting so fine it looks like it could melt against your skin. Claire's hands shake as she holds it. This piece of her mother, this tiny connection to the woman who gave her life and tried to give her freedom, but died before she could finish teaching Claire how to use it. She thought she'd hidden it deep in her messenger bag, lining wrapped in an old t-shirt, tucked where no one would find it. But somehow it ended up here in this laundry bag. Must have fallen out when she was sorting her own clothes yesterday, mixing her life with the work until she couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. That. Ray's voice comes from behind, making her jump, nearly dropping the necklace. That isn't something a homeless person usually carries. Claire turns slowly. Guilty child caught with forbidden treasure. Ray stands there, eyes locked on the necklace, then lifting to meet hers. His expression holds no anger, just stillness, and the unmistakable sense that something important just shifted, just changed, just revealed itself. You're right, Claire. Exhale softly, defeated. It's not. Ray waits. Doesn't push, doesn't demand. Just stands present, giving her space to speak or not speak. To confess or not confess, her choice, like everything should be, but so rarely is. I am Claire Whitman, she says finally. Her eyes no longer meeting his. Daughter of Victor Whitman, CEO of Whitman Technologies. You've probably heard of him. The silence stretches long. In the background, washers tumble their endless rhythm, dryers hum their constant song. The world continues, but in this small space between them, everything pauses. Everything holds its breath. Does Ethan know no? Nobody knows except... She stops. Except now, you. Why are you here in Cedar Falls, working minimum wage, sleeping on a couch? Because I don't want to be there anymore. Claire's voice drops to barely above a whisper. 24 years of suffocation compressed into 7 words. I was tired of being watched, controlled, turned into the person everyone expected. I ran away, changed my SIM card, threw away my wallet, kept only a few things. This necklace. It used to belong to my mother. She gave it to me before she died. Made me promise to never let anyone cage me the way my father caged her. Ray nods, slowly processing understanding more than she's said. You got family looking for you. My father. Probably has investigators combing the state. Probably knows exactly where I am by now, just waiting for the right moment to swoop in and drag me back to the life I'm supposed to want. Why hasn't he come yet? Maybe he's letting me think I'm free, letting me believe I escaped. Makes it easier to control me later if I think I chose to come back instead of being forced. Or maybe Ray says gently, he's learning to let you go. You don't know my father. No. But I know fathers, and I know most of us don't know how to love our daughters without trying to protect them from everything. Sometimes protection looks like control. Doesn't make it right, just makes it understandable. Claire's eyes fill. You think I should tell Ethan? I think keeping secrets from people you care about is like keeping walls between you. Eventually, walls become the relationship. Nothing but barriers. What if he treats me differently? What if he sees the money instead of me? Then he's not who you think he is. And you should know that now, instead of later. Before Claire can respond, before she can decide what to do with this truth that's been revealed. The shop bell chimes. Both turn. A stranger steps inside wearing a leather jacket, despite the warm afternoon low-brimmed cap pulled over his eyes. He doesn't look at the laundry, doesn't look at Ray. His eyes fix immediately on Claire with the focus of someone who's been searching, who's finally found what he's looking for. He raises his phone with practiced efficiency. Sharp click of a camera shutter cutting through the air like a slap. Got it, he mutters more to himself than them voice, satisfied with completed task. 5 days missing, and here she is folding towels in a laundromat, like some kind of Cinderella story. Daddy's going to pay very well for this photo. Claire goes pale, blood draining from her face so fast she has to grab the counter to stay upright. Her worst fear materialized. Found. Exposed. Trapped. Who the hell are you? Ray steps forward, immediately putting himself between Claire and this intruder, this violation of the sanctuary they've built here. Just someone who got hired to find what's lost. The man grins, not pleasantly, the smile of someone who gets paid for other people's pain. Victor Whitman wants his daughter back. Pays very, very well for that kind of information. He backs toward the door, still snapping photos. Rich girls always go home eventually. Can't hide in these small towns forever. Everyone has a price. Everything comes back to money in the end. Get out! Ray's voice goes hard in a way Claire's never heard. Now! Can't stop the truth from getting out, old man. The door closes behind him with a cheerful jingle that feels obscene given the moment. Claire collapses onto a wooden chair, face in her hands, breathing too fast, panic clawing up her throat. The safety she'd built, the life she'd started, the person she'd begun becoming, all of it crumbling like sandcastles against waves. Ray stands silent, not because of who she is, but because someone just destroyed the fragile safety she'd managed to find. This investigator wasn't the first. Won't be the last. Victor Whitman doesn't give up. Men like him never do. They buy, they pressure, they manipulate until they get what they want. You gotta tell Ethan. Ray says quietly after a long moment, before he finds out another way. I can't. He'll hate me for lying, for hiding who I am. He'll hate you more if he finds out from a stranger, or worse, from your father showing up at his door with lawyers and threats. You think Victor Whitman's gonna knock politely? You think he's gonna respect Ethan's home, his daughter, his life? Claire knows he's right. But the thought of seeing disappointment in Ethan's eyes, of watching him realize she's been hiding, the truth makes her want to run again. Keep running, never stop. But she's so tired of running, so tired of being afraid. What if he doesn't want me anymore, once he knows who I really am? Then you find out now instead of later. But Claire Ray kneels beside her chair, voice gentle. That man fell for you when he thought you were nobody. When you were just some girl sleeping on his couch, working minimum wage, trying to start over. He didn't fall for your last name or your bank account. He fell for you, the real you. This you right here folding towels with blistered hands. That doesn't change because your father's rich. I hope you're right. Only one way to find out. That evening, Claire walks to Ethan's house with the sapphire necklace in her pocket, heavy as guilt, heavy as truth, heavy as the life she left behind and the life she's trying to build. Lily runs to greet her as usual, throws arms around her waist with the force of someone who hasn't learned to hold back feelings, yet chatters about school and Tommy, who ate crayons today instead of paste. So that's progress. Ethan's in the kitchen attempting spaghetti again, already has sauce on his shirt like a badge of honor. Looks up when she enters, smiles that smile that makes her chest feel too small for her heart. How was work eventful? After dinner, after Lily's tucked in bed with her butterfly blanket and her stuffed bear and a goodnight kiss from both of them, that feels significant, now important now, Claire asks Ethan if they can talk outside. Really talk. They sit on the porch, evening cool, settling around them like a blanket. Stars appear one by one, overhead constellations Claire learned as a child, but has forgotten the names of. Cedar Falls goes quiet, as it always does, after 9 crickets providing the only soundtrack nature's way of saying it's safe to whisper secrets into darkness. Claire pulls out the necklace, holds it up to catch porch light. The sapphire glows deep blue, almost black, in the dim illumination. Ethan sees it, recognition flickering across his face. Expensive. Very expensive. His eyes narrow slightly, not with anger, but with confusion, with questions he's not sure he wants answered. There's something I need to tell you. Claire begins, voice shaking despite her efforts to steady it. Something I should have told you 3 weeks ago. Something I've been too scared to say because once I say it, everything changes. Okay, Ethan says simply. I'm listening. She tells him everything. The words spill out in a rush, afraid if she stops, she'll lose courage. About Victor Whitman, about the tech empire, about growing up in Minneapolis surrounded by wealth that felt like walls. About the engagement arranged to Graham Sutton business merger disguised as marriage. About her mother dying of cancer when Claire was 15, about this necklace being the only piece of her left. About Caroline's dying words. Don't let anyone turn you into something you're not. Not even your father. Especially not your father. She tells him about the gala where Victor announced her engagement without asking where Graham's hand on her waist felt like ownership. About running away that same night, throwing herself into poverty and anonymity and this small town because she'd rather have nothing and be herself than have everything and be someone else's puppet. She tells him about the investigator, about the photos, about Victor knowing where she is coming for her soon, about everything being about to fall apart. When she finishes, silence settles heavy as storm clouds. Ethan sits perfectly still, face neutral processing. Claire can't read his expression, can't tell if he's angry or hurt or disgusted or what. The not knowing feels worse than any reaction. Finally, he speaks, voice quiet and careful. You lied to me. I didn't lie exactly. Claire tries to defend. I just didn't tell you. Holding something back is still a kind of lie. His words echo what he said that first night about honesty, about trust being the foundation everything else stands on. I know. I'm sorry. I was afraid if you knew who I was, you'd see me differently. You'd see Whitman money instead of Claire. Everyone always does. You should have trusted me to make that choice. I know. She's crying now, can't stop the tears. I was selfish. I was scared. I wanted to be seen as just me for once in my life. Just Claire, who folds laundry and burns toast and doesn't have to be anything other than human. Ethan stands, walks to the porch railing, grips it with both hands, stares out at the dark street. There's an investigator who took photos today, he says after a long moment. Your father knows where you are. Probably. He'll come for you. Yes, with lawyers and money and power. I can't fight. Yes. Ethan turns back, and now she can see his expression. Hurt. Betrayal. But also something else. Understanding, maybe. Or at least trying to understand. I don't care about your money, Claire. I don't care that your father's some tech billionaire. I don't care that you grew up in penthouses and went to fancy schools, and probably never used a laundromat until 3 weeks ago. Then what do you care about the lying? The hiding? Because it means you didn't trust me. Didn't trust us. Thought I was like everyone else who'd see you as a bank account instead of a person. Weren't you? She challenges, sudden anger replacing guilt. Wasn't I right? Look at your face right now. Everything's different. I'm different to you now. No, Ethan says firmly. You're not different. You're just more complete. I know all of you now instead of part of you. That's not worse. That's better, even if it hurts that you didn't tell me sooner. The anger drains from Claire as fast as it came. You're not sending me away. Why would I send you away? You think I'd kick you out because your father's rich? He almost laughs. Claire, 3 weeks ago I let you in because you were cold and wet and alone. I gave you shoes because your feet hurt. I cared about you because you made my daughter smile and you helped with burnt pancakes and you... His voice softens. You fit somehow. Money doesn't change any of that. But now you know. Now everything's different. The only thing that's different is I understand why you ran. And honestly, he sits back down beside her. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you chose this life over that one. I'm glad you walked away from people who didn't see you. I'm glad you ended up on my doorstep that night, even though my father's coming, even though everything's about to get complicated, especially because of that, because it means you're choosing to stay, not because you have nowhere else to go, because you want to be here. There's going to be pressure, Claire warns. Legal threats, maybe. Investigators. Media attention. My father's ruthless when he doesn't get his way. Then we'll deal with ruthless. You don't understand. Victor Whitman destroys people who get in his way. He has lawyers, money connections. He could make your life miserable. Ethan meets her eyes steadily. No fear in them, just resolve. Let him try. I've been through worse. I buried my wife. I raised my daughter alone through the hardest years. Your father doesn't scare me. He pauses, voice dropping. But losing you does. The admission hangs between them, more significant than anything else said tonight. They've danced around feelings for weeks, both afraid to name what's building. But now it's out there, honest and raw and undeniable. Ethan cares. More than he should. More than is safe. Enough that the thought of her leaving, of her being taken back to Minneapolis, makes his chest feel like it's being crushed. Claire steps closer, searching his face in the porch light. What if I have to go back? What if I can't stay? Then we'll figure that out too. together. He takes her hand. Whatever happens, whatever your father does, you're not alone anymore. Got that? You don't have to fight this by yourself. Together. Claire repeats, testing the word like it's foreign language. She's never had together before. Always been alone, even in crowds, even surrounded by people. Ethan's hand tightens on hers. Whatever happens next, we face it side by side. They stay like that for a while, hands linked, watching stars emerge in force above Cedar Falls. Neither knows what tomorrow brings. Neither knows that in 3 days Victor Whitman will arrive with lawyers and threats and everything he thinks matters. Neither knows the battle that's coming, the pressure that will try to tear them apart, the choice Claire will have to make between two worlds that can't coexist. But right now, in this moment, they have each other. They have truth between them. They have this porch and this quiet night, and the understanding that they're in this together now, whatever this is, whatever it becomes. And sometimes that's enough to face whatever storms gather on the horizon. Sometimes love isn't about being ready. It's about choosing to stay, even when leaving would be easier. It's about trust built slowly through burnt pancakes and folded laundry and scraped knees, and finally, through truth told when lying would have been simpler. Sometimes home is wherever someone knows your name, your truth, your worst secrets, and says, "Okay, I see all of you now, and I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. We'll face whatever comes. Together." Morning brings heavy clouds that threaten rain, but haven't committed yet. Sky bruised purple and grey like fading injuries. Ethan makes coffee while Claire sits at the table, both existing in the new reality, where truth lives between them instead of secrets. The air feels different somehow. Lighter, maybe. Or heavier. Hard to tell which. Lily bounces in, wearing mismatched socks and yesterday's tutu over her school clothes, oblivious to adult complications. "Is Miss Claire staying forever now?" she asks, pouring cereal with more enthusiasm than accuracy. Cheerios scatter across the table like tiny life preservers, bouncing and rolling. Ethan and Claire exchange glances. "We're working on it, Lilybug." "Good. Emma's mummy said you can't have two mums, but I told her that's dumb." Her face scrunches with indignation. "You can have as many people who love you as want to." "That's what I said." Out of the mouths of children. Sometimes the clearest wisdom comes from those who haven't learned to complicate things yet, who see the world in simple truths that adults have forgotten. After Lily leaves for school, Mrs. Brennan arriving to walk her down the street like she does every morning. Ethan turns to Claire. "You can't go to Ray's today. What? Why?" "If there's one investigator, there'll be more. They know where you work. They'll be watching, taking more photos, building a case for your father." So I hide. Claire's voice hardens. I run again. Just for a few days, until we figure out next steps, until we know what we're dealing with. Claire bristles at the idea of hiding at, retreating at, giving her father this power over her movements. But she knows Ethan's right. Going to Ray's means exposing herself, means making it easy for Victor's investigators to document her every move to build whatever narrative Victor wants to build about his poor, lost daughter living in poverty. Instead, she helps Ethan with household tasks, cleaning and organizing this small space that's become her sanctuary. She finds old photo albums in a closet, can't resist looking through them, even though she knows it's invasive, knows she's seeing into moments she wasn't part of. Sarah's face smiles from every page, young and vibrant and alive. Wedding photos where she and Ethan look impossibly young, barely adults playing dress-up. Pregnancy photos where she glows with that particular radiance. Hospital photos with newborn Lily, both parents exhausted and euphoric. Birthday parties, park trips, ordinary moments captured and preserved. Claire doesn't feel jealous, just sad. Sad for Ethan's loss. Sad for Lily, who'll never remember these moments except through photographs. Sad that love can be so complete and still not enough to keep someone breathing. Sad that life is fragile and arbitrary and sometimes takes the best people for no reason at all. Ethan finds her crying over a picture of Sarah holding newborn Lily in a hospital bed, both glowing with that post-birth exhaustion and overwhelming joy. The kind of moment that feels eternal when you're in it, that you can't imagine ever forgetting except time proves otherwise. He sits beside her on the floor, doesn't take the album away. She's beautiful, Claire says, tracing Sarah's face with her finger. She was. I'm not trying to replace her. Claire needs him to understand this. I know I can't. I know she's Lily's real mom. I know. Ethan stops her with a hand on her arm. I know you're not trying to replace her, and you couldn't if you tried. Sarah was Sarah. You're you. Different people. Different roles in my life. Both important. Both. He struggles for words. Both necessary somehow. They spend the afternoon talking. Really talking in a way they haven't had time for yet. Claire shares stories about her mother. About Caroline Whitman, who married Victor Young and spent years trying to escape the control that wealth brings, the way money becomes chains disguised as gifts. How she finally succeeded by getting sick because even Victor couldn't control cancer, couldn't buy his way out of mortality, couldn't intimidate cells into behaving. She gave me this necklace 3 days before she died, Claire says, holding the sapphire up to afternoon light. Said it was the only thing she owned that was really hers. Everything else belonged to my father in some way. But this, her mother gave it to her at her wedding. Caroline kept it through everything, through arguments and separations and reconciliations, through years of slowly fading. And when she knew she was dying, she gave it to me. What did she say? Claire's eyes fill. She said, "Don't let anyone turn you into something you're not even your father, especially not your father. Promise me you'll run if you have to. Promise me you'll choose yourself." And you kept that promise. Took me 9 years, but yeah, I finally kept it. Your mum sounds amazing. She was, but she was also sad. I think she regretted not leaving sooner, not taking me away from Victor before I got too old to escape easily. She stayed because of money, security, fear. All the reasons people stay in cages with open doors. And by the time she found courage, it was too late. Cancer doesn't care about timing. Is that why you ran, because you saw your future partially? Claire traces the necklace chain with her finger. But also because I saw myself becoming her. Sad and trapped and full of regrets. I saw Graham Sutton standing at an altar 5 years from now, saw decades of business dinners and fake smiles, and slowly forgetting who I was under all the expectations. I couldn't become my mother's regret. Couldn't let her last gift to me be wasted. Ethan understands. Sometimes staying feels like slow death. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leave, even when it costs everything. Even when people call you selfish or ungrateful or crazy. Sometimes saving yourself is the only option left. That evening after Lily's asleep, Ethan makes a decision. Pack a bag. Just essentials. Why Claire looks up from the couch where she's been reading one of Lily's picture books, somehow finding them more comforting than anything written for adults. Because if your father's coming, I'd rather not be here when he arrives. I'd rather have time to think, to plan, to prepare. There's a cabin outside town. Belonged to Sarah's parents. They moved to Florida 2 years ago, said I could use it whenever. It's quiet. Private. We can go there for a few days. Figure things out away from investigators and pressure. You want to hide me. I want to protect you. There's a difference. Claire studies his face, sees the determination there, the fierce protectiveness. realizes he's not doing this out of pity or obligation. He's doing it because she's become part of his family and he protects his family. Has to. Failed to protect Sarah won't fail again. Okay, she agrees. But Lily... Mrs. Brennan will take her. She's done it before when I've had overnight work. Lily loves staying there, thinks it's an adventure. Mrs. Brennan spoils her rotten with cookies and lets her stay up past bedtime. They leave before dawn, truck loaded with supplies. The cabin sits 20 minutes outside Cedar Falls, nestled in trees that are just beginning to turn colors. Isolated but beautiful in a way that makes Claire's photographer's eye itch for a camera. Wooden beams, weathered grey. Stone hearth that looks original to the structure. Windows overlooking forest that seems to go on forever. Simple and peaceful. The kind of place where you can hear yourself think, where silence isn't empty, but full of possibility. For 3 days, they exist outside normal life. Ethan visits Lily daily at Mrs. Brennan's, brings her to the cabin for afternoons, where she runs through trees collecting leaves she declares are treasures. Claire teaches her to identify birds from the guidebook on the cabin shelf, surprised she still remembers from childhood camping trips with her mother before everything changed. Lily learns chickadee calls and robin songs. Names a blue jay Frederick Jr. after the frog from the park. Declares herself queen of the forest crown, made from fallen branches and determination. In the evenings after Lily returns to town with Mrs. Brennan, who asks no questions because she understands sometimes people need space, Ethan and Claire sit by the fire, talking. He teaches her to carve wood guides her hands with his shows, her how to let the grain dictate the shape instead of forcing it. You can't fight the wood. He explains his hands over hers as they guide the knife. You have to work with it. See where it wants to go. Sometimes what you planned isn't what it needs to be. Claire's terrible at it. Makes lopsided attempts at butterflies that look more like blobs with wings. But they laugh at her failures, and that matters more than success. The laughter matters. The trying matters. The sitting together with shavings on the floor and fire crackling and understanding that perfection isn't the point. She tells him about dreams she gave up. Photography. Travel. Capturing real people in real moments instead of posed corporate events. Her father said it was a hobby, not a career, not worthy of a Whitman. Forced her into business school instead, internships at his company networking events, where she learned to smile and lie in equal measure. Why don't you start now, Ethan asks. Take photos, see where it leads. With what money? What camera? Claire gestures at her lack of possessions. Everything I owned is back in Minneapolis. He's quiet for a moment, then disappears into the bedroom. Returns with an old digital camera, black with a worn strap. It was Sarah's. She loved photography too. Took pictures of everything. Lily the house random clouds. Never got to do much with it. But maybe it's meant for you now. Claire takes the camera like it's made of glass, like it might shatter if she breathes wrong. I can't. This was hers. She'd want someone to use it, better than sitting in a drawer collecting dust. Besides, Ethan smiles sadly. Maybe this is how she lives on. Through people who still dream. Through art that still gets made. Claire cries, clutches the camera to her chest, promises silently to honor Sarah's memory with every photo she takes. To see beauty the way Sarah must have seen it. To capture moments worth keeping. That night, they almost kiss. Sitting by the fire, Claire's head rests on Ethan's shoulder. His hand moves to her hair, fingers tangling in the strands, gentle. The moment stretches charged with everything unspoken. Hearts pound loud enough to drown out the crackling fire. They turn toward each other slowly, faces inches apart, breath mingling in the space between. But they don't close the distance. Not yet. Ethan whispers, voice rough. Not until we know we can keep it. Claire agrees. It's not rejection. It's respect. Respect for what they're building, for the complications ahead, for the need to be sure before crossing lines they can't uncross. Because when they kiss, when they finally give in to this pull between them, they both know it'll mean something. It'll change everything. And they're not ready for everything to change yet. They need to deal with Victor first. Need to know they have a chance before they risk their hearts completely. On the third day, Lily visits with Mrs. Brennan for lunch. They eat sandwiches on the porch, sun finally breaking through clouds in brilliant streaks. Lily chatters about school, about Tommy, who finally stopped eating crayons and moved on to eating erasers, which Mrs. Patterson says is progress of some kind. She shows them her latest drawing. 3 people in the cabin, fire, glowing orange hearts everywhere. "Are you guys getting married?" she asks with perfect childhood directness. No filter, no awareness that this question is complicated. Lily Ethan's voice holds embarrassed warning. "What?" It's a good question. She looks between them with those 2 wise eyes. "My friend Emma's mommy and daddy got married, and then they all lived together forever and ever. Don't you want to live together forever?" "Marriage is complicated, sweetheart." Claire tries to explain. Why Lily's face scrunches in genuine confusion. "You love Daddy. He loves you. I love both of you. That's not complicated. That's just family." Ethan and Claire exchange looks over her blonde curls. Out of the mouths of children indeed. How do you explain adult fears to someone who hasn't learned to be afraid yet? How do you tell a 6-year-old that loving someone and building a life with them requires more than just love? Requires timing and readiness and dealing with fathers who own technology companies and arranged engagements that need breaking. Because Claire tries, sometimes grown-ups worry about things that don't make sense when you say them out loud. Like what? Like whether we'll make each other happy long-term, whether we're ready, whether the timing is right. But you make each other happy now. Lily's logic is irrefutable. And Mommy used to say she drops her voice like sharing a secret perfect doesn't exist anyway. She said you just love people even when they're messy. She did say that Ethan confirms quietly, throat tight with grief that never fully goes away. Just becomes background noise you learn to live with. So stop waiting for perfect. Lily declares back to her normal volume. Just be together. That's what I think. After Mrs. Brennan takes Lily back to town, Ethan and Claire sit in loaded silence on the porch. Lily's words hang in the air between them like smoke you can see but can't quite touch. She's not wrong, Claire finally says. No. But she's also 6. She doesn't understand complicated. Maybe complicated is just an excuse adults use when we're scared. Ethan turns to her afternoon sun catching in his eyes. Are you scared? Terrified. You same. He takes her hand. But you know what scares me more? Letting fear decide. Letting your father win by running forever. Letting this us slip away because it's not convenient or easy or simple. When this is over, when we deal with your father, when things settle. Ethan pauses. I want to do this right. I want to court you properly. Take you on dates. Let Lily get used to seeing us together in that way. Build something real and solid that can weather whatever comes. When this is over, Claire repeats, testing the words. So, we're fighting. We're fighting. They shake hands like sealing a business deal, both laughing at the absurdity of it. But underneath the humor lies truth. They've made a decision. Whatever comes, they face it together. No more running, no more hiding. Time to stand up to Victor Whitman and every fear that's kept them playing it safe. The next morning they pack up the cabin. Time to go home. Time to face whatever's waiting. Time to choose the hard path because it's the right one, because Lily deserves parents who fight for their happiness, because Sarah would want Ethan to live again, because Caroline would want Claire to be free. As they drive back to Cedar Falls, Claire photographs the landscape through the truck window. Sarah's camera feels right in her hands, like it's been waiting for her. Trees blur past leaves just starting to turn. Fields stretch golden toward horizons she can't see yet. Sky vast and uncertain and full of possibility. Each photo captures a moment of borrowed time of peace before the storm of beauty before the battle. She doesn't know if they'll survive what comes next. Doesn't know if Victor will tear them apart or if they'll find a way through. But she knows this, she's not facing it alone anymore. She has Ethan. She has Lily. She has Ray and Mrs. Brennan and a community that saw her as human before they knew her last name. Sometimes love makes you bet everything on maybe. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is hold your heart steady when every instinct screams to let it break now before the world breaks it for you. But love doesn't work that way. Love makes you hope even when hope feels dangerous. Love makes you fight even when fighting feels impossible. The truck pulls into Cedar Falls as afternoon fades to evening. Streetlights flicker on, one by one, like stars falling to earth. The small house stands exactly as they left it. Crooked mailbox and chipped paint and porch light burning. But parked in front, sleek and black and ominous as a hearse, sits an expensive car. Two men in suits stand at the gate, like sentinels, like guards, like the end of something that was never quite allowed to begin. And between them, tall with silver hair and a face carved from stone and power and decades of getting exactly what he wants, stands Victor Whitman. Ethan's hands tighten on the steering wheel, knuckles going white. "You ready?" Claire looks at her father standing in front of Ethan's house at the life she ran from trying to reclaim her, at everything she feared facing. Then looks at Ethan beside her at Lily's drawings, still taped to the dashboard at this small truck that smells like home and possibility. And the future she's choosing. "Yeah," she says, voice steady despite her racing heart. "I'm ready." They step out together, hand in hand, to face whatever comes next. Victor Whitman doesn't move when he sees Claire emerge from the beat-up truck. Doesn't rush forward or call out or show any visible reaction. Just stands there watching his daughter climb out beside a man in work clothes in front of a house that probably costs less than his monthly car payment, and his face remains carefully neutral. But something flickers in his eyes. Relief, maybe. Or disappointment. Or both tangled together the way emotions get when you love someone and can't understand their choices. "So you finally show your face," he says. Not a greeting, not anger, just a statement of fact delivered with the weight of a man used to being obeyed, used to his words reshaping reality to match his will. Claire's hand tightens on Ethan's. She doesn't let go. Ethan steps forward slightly, not in front of Claire, but beside her, voice calm and steady despite the situation. "She's not an object, Mr. Whitman. She wasn't hidden. She just needed a place to breathe." Victor's gaze shifts to Ethan, assessing. Taking in the worn jeans with paint stains, the work boots caked with mud. The calloused hands that tell stories of labor Victor's never known. Dismissing him in seconds the way wealthy men dismiss everyone who doesn't speak their language of power and portfolios. He looks at the small house with visible distaste, the chipped paint that Ethan can't afford to fix, the crooked mailbox Lily decorated with stickers, the sagging porch where boards probably need replacing, everything small and shabby and poor by Victor's standards. "Breathe here." His voice drips with disbelief. This house couldn't hold a fraction of what she once had. "What exactly do you think you can offer my daughter besides a rusty roof and burnt toast?" "Peace," Ethan says simply. "Safety. Choice. Things money can't buy, Mr. Whitman. Everything can be bought. Victor's response is immediate reflexive. You just haven't found the right price yet. Claire steps forward now, releasing Ethan's hand, facing her father alone. Dad, I once had everything except peace. Victor's jaw tightens, the only crack in his controlled facade. You think love is something wrapped in napkins and served with burnt bread every morning. You don't belong here, Claire. Look at this place. Look at him. You belong in your world, our world. Maybe not. Claire's voice stays steady, though her hands shake. But at least here I get to be myself. Yourself. Victor's control slips, anger bleeding through. You think working in a laundromat is yourself. You think living in poverty is freedom. You've been brainwashed. Stockholm Syndrome. You're confused. I'm clearer than I've ever been. Victor turns his attention back to Ethan, voice going cold and calculating. What do you want? Money, I'll write you a check right now. Name your price. Leave my daughter alone. Ethan doesn't flinch, doesn't react, just holds Victor's stare. I don't want your money, Mr. Whitman, and your daughter makes her own choices about who she spends time with. Everyone has a price. Not everyone. The standoff stretches. The two men in suits shift uncomfortably, clearly not paid enough to be part of this family drama. Neighbors start peeking through curtains, sensing something significant happening on their quiet street. Victor changes tactics, softening his voice slightly. Claire, honey, come home. Your room is ready. Your things are exactly where you left them. We'll talk about this. Get you help. Therapy, maybe. Whatever you need to get through this episode. Claire's anger flares. This isn't a breakdown, Dad. This is me choosing a life that doesn't feel like a prison. But Victor's not listening already, moving to the next strategy. The car is waiting. People have seen you here. Photos are circulating. Tabloids are already writing stories. Graham's family is threatening to pull out of the merger completely. Do you understand what you've done? Do you understand what this costs? Not just you, right? Claire's voice hardens. It's about the business. Always the business. The merger isn't just about me. Victor snaps, finally showing real anger. It's about 400 employees whose jobs depend on this deal. Board members who've trusted me for decades. Shareholders. Your choice affects more than just your happiness, Claire. It affects real people with real families. So my life doesn't matter as much as a business deal. My happiness is less important than profit margins. That's not what I said. But it's what you mean. It's always what you mean. Victor takes a breath, visibly composing himself, pulling the control back like a cloak. When he speaks again, his voice cracks slightly despite his efforts. He turns away, shoulders tight with tension. Do you think I enjoyed controlling you? Do you think I wanted to be the villain in your story? His hands clench into fists at his sides. I built everything for you, Claire. Every deal, every merger, every sleepless night. So you'd never feel what I felt growing up. So you'd never know hunger or fear or the particular humiliation of being poor in a world that only values money. But Dad, Claire's anger softens slightly. Voice gentler, you're losing me. Not to poverty or danger. To your fear. You're so busy protecting me from the world that you forgot to let me live in it. I'm trying to give you a life. No. You're trying to give me your definition of a good life. Money, status, security. But none of that matters if I'm miserable. None of that matters if I'm not myself. Victor finally looks at her directly. Really looks. And you think poverty will make you happy? You think living here, working for minimum wage, dating a man with nothing will fulfill you? I think choosing my own path will fulfill me. Even if that path is harder, even if I fail, at least it'll be my failure, not your arranged success. Ethan steps in carefully, trying to de-escalate. Mr. Whitman, I understand you're scared. Losing someone you love is terrifying. I know that better than most. But fear makes us hold on too tight. It suffocates the people we're trying to protect. You don't know anything about me. Victor turns to him, eyes cold. I know loss. I know what it's like to try to control everything because you're terrified of losing what matters. But you can't control life. You can't protect people from pain by putting them in cages, even gilded ones. You have no right to speak about my daughter. Maybe not, but I have the right to speak about love. And love isn't about control. It's about trust. Trusting that someone can make their own choices even when those choices scare you. Victor stares at this man who has nothing, offers nothing, yet somehow took his daughter from everything. His hands clench tighter. You think you're enough for her. You think your small life, your small house, your small dreams are what she needs. Ethan meets his gaze steadily. No backing down. I don't know if I'm enough. But I know I see her, really see her, not as an asset or a responsibility or a chess piece to move around a board, just as Claire. And she gets to decide if that's enough. Is it Victor turns back to Claire, voice breaking slightly? Is this man this nothing enough reason to throw away everything? The word stings. Claire sees Ethan flinch slightly at nothing, sees hurt flash across his face before he schools it away. And something in her snaps. Don't call him that, she says quietly, dangerously. Ethan Hayes is worth 10 Graham Suttons, 20 of the men you've introduced me to over the years. He's kind. He's honest. He's real. He doesn't need your money or status to know his worth. And he lets me be real, too. That's what you never understood, Dad. I don't need protection. I need permission. Permission to be myself. Permission to choose. Permission to fail if I need to. And Ethan gives me that. He sees me as a person, not a possession. Victor shakes his head slowly, face hardening again. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. The standoff stretches into painful territory. Victor looks from his daughter to this single father to this tiny house that represents everything he fought his whole life to escape. Sees his control slipping like water through fingers. Everything he built, everything he planned crumbling because his daughter chooses burnt toast over champagne. Finally, he straightens his shoulders, pulls his dignity around himself like armor. The car is waiting. Your room is ready. I'll tell Graham you need more time, but he won't wait forever. None of us will. When you come to your senses, when poverty stops seeming romantic and starts being reality, call me. I'll send the jet. He moves toward the car suit men falling into step beside him like well-trained dogs. Dad Claire calls out, voice breaking. He stops, but doesn't turn. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I can't be what you need me to be. But I can't live your life anymore. I can't be your second chance at doing everything right. I have to be my own first chance at doing something real. Victor's shoulders sag slightly, barely visible. Then he straightens them again, squares them, with visible effort. Gets in the car without another word. The engine purrs to life, expensive and smooth, and everything Ethan's truck will never be. Tail lights glow red in the twilight, moving down the street, turning the corner, disappearing. Claire stands in the street, shaking like leaves in wind. Ethan's arm comes around her shoulders, solid and warm and real. Inside the house, she can see Lily's face pressed against the window, Mrs. Brennan standing behind her, both watching. You okay? Ethan asks quietly. No, but I will be. She turns into his chest. Lets herself break down for a moment, lets the tears come. Relief and grief tangled together. Relief that she stood her ground, grief that it cost her father's approval, maybe his love. They walk inside together, Lily runs to Claire, immediately throws her arms around her waist with the force of someone who thought she might leave, might disappear like mothers do in her experience. "You're staying, right? You're not leaving with those scary men?" "I'm staying, sweetheart. Promise, promise, promise. Cross my heart." Mrs. Brennan makes tea because that's what practical women do in emotional moments, gives everyone something to hold, something to focus on besides the chaos. "You did the right thing, girl. Doesn't feel right. Feels like I just broke my father's heart. Sometimes growing up means disappointing people, even people you love. That doesn't make it wrong, just hard." That night, Lily sleeps between them on the couch, unwilling to let Claire out of her sight, needing the physical reassurance that adults don't always leave, that sometimes they stay even when it's hard. They watch some animated movie about talking animals, but none of them really pay attention. The confrontation with Victor replays in Claire's mind. Her father's face when Ethan called him out. The pain in both their voices, the weight of choosing yourself when it hurts someone else. Around 10, Lily finally falls asleep. Ethan carries her to bed, tucks her in with her butterfly blanket and her stuffed bear and all the small rituals that make a child feel safe. Returns to find Claire still on the couch, staring at nothing, lost in thoughts she can't quite voice. "He hurt you," she says quietly when Ethan sits beside her. "My father. He dismissed you, called you nothing." "I've been dismissed before. I'll survive. But it wasn't fair. You're not nothing. You're everything." Ethan takes her hand. "I know who I am." His words don't change that. "I'm a father, a worker, someone trying to do his best with what he has. Your father sees money and status as measures of worth. I see people and moments. We measure value differently. Doesn't make either of us wrong. Just different." Claire leans against him, exhausted. "Thank you for defending me. Thank you for choosing to stay. It's not over. He'll try again." "I know. But tonight we won. Tonight you stood up for yourself. That's huge, Claire. That's everything." They sit in the quiet house, exhaustion settling over them like blankets. Outside, Cedar Falls sleeps. Inside, 3 people who chose each other against impossible odds rest uneasily, knowing the fight's just beginning, but also knowing they're facing it together. Sometimes the most precious things leave, not for lack of love, but because powerful people try to rip them away, try to control them, try to reshape them into something more acceptable. But sometimes, just sometimes, you get to choose. You get to say no to easy, and yes to right. You get to pick the hard path because it's yours, not someone else's plan for you. And sometimes that's the most powerful thing you can do. Say no to a life you don't want, even when saying no costs everything. Even when the person you're disappointing is someone you love. Even when standing your ground means standing alone, except for the people brave enough to stand beside you. Sometimes that's enough. But Victor doesn't give up. Men like Victor Whitman never do. They don't know how. The next 3 days bring escalating pressure like storm clouds gathering before breaking. First comes the lawyer. Edmund Pierce, senior partner at Whitman's firm, expensive suit and colder eyes briefcase that probably costs more than Ethan's monthly mortgage. He arrives at 8 a.m. knocking with authority that says he's used to doors opening for him. Ethan answers, still in pajama pants and holding a cup of coffee. Yes, Pierce hands him papers. Legal documents, thick and official. Cease and desist order. Mr. Hayes. I'm here on behalf of Victor Whitman. These documents require you to stay away from Claire Whitman effective immediately or face criminal charges. Criminal charges? Ethan takes the papers, scanning them quickly. For what potential kidnapping allegations? Harboring a runaway. Undue influence over a vulnerable young woman. Additionally, there will be a custody evaluation regarding your fitness as a parent who harbors runaways and exposes his minor child to unstable situations. The threat against Lily makes Ethan's blood run cold. Ice water down his spine. His hand shakes slightly. Papers trembling. "You're threatening to take my daughter. We're merely concerned about her welfare, given the circumstances." Claire appears behind Ethan, hair still messy from sleep. "You can't do this." Pierce turns to her, expression unchanging. "Ms. Whitman, your father wants you to know that Mr. Hayes is in over his head. Mr. Whitman has resources you cannot imagine. He can make this gentleman's life very, very difficult. Or all of this can end quietly. You simply need to come home. Tell my father Claire's voice goes steel hard if he tries to hurt Ethan or threatens Lily again. I'll go public with everything. The forced engagement. The business coercion. How he used Mom's memory to manipulate me. How he's trying to destroy a good man's life because that man showed me kindness. Let's see how that plays in the media, Mr. Pierce." Pierce's expression flickers slightly. Uncertainty. "Ms. Whitman going public would hurt you more than your father. The tabloids would destroy you. Let them try." After Pierce leaves, the reality sinks in like water seeping through cracks. Victor's not backing down. He'll use lawyers, investigators' money, whatever it takes to bend Claire back into his control. And he's willing to use Lily as leverage, willing to threaten the only thing Ethan can't risk losing. Ethan starts to spiral. What if he actually does it? What if I lose her? His voice rises with panic, coffee mug shaking in his hand. What if the courts believe him? What if they think I'm unfit because I helped you? He won't. Claire insists, but her voice lacks certainty. We won't let him. But doubt creeps in like smoke under doors. Ethan lies awake at night, terrified. He's faced poverty, grief, exhaustion. But the threat of losing his daughter eclipses everything, makes every other fear seem manageable by comparison. Is loving Claire worth that risk? Can he justify putting Lily in danger for his own happiness? The question haunts him, follows him through his days like a shadow he can't shake. Meanwhile, Claire crumbles under guilt that sits on her chest like stones. She brought this chaos into their lives. Her father, her problems, her past. Ethan and Lily were fine before she showed up rain-soaked and desperate. Now they're targets. Now Lily could be taken. Now everything's falling apart and it's her fault, always her fault. Maybe I should just go back, she says one night when Ethan can't sleep and she can't pretend anymore. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe I'm being selfish. Don't, Ethan's voice comes out fierce. Don't give up. But Lily is fine, is safe, and would be devastated if you left. So would I. You don't know that he won't follow through. Victor doesn't bluff. If he threatens custody evaluation, he means it. So we fight it. We show any judge that I'm a good father, that Lily's happy and safe and loved. With what money? What lawyer? Claire's voice rises with frustration. He has resources we can't match. He'll bury us in legal fees until we can't afford to fight anymore. Then we'll figure something out. How? How do we fight a billionaire Ethan? How do we win when the system's designed for people like him? The words hang between them like accusation. Ethan goes quiet, has no answer because she's right. The system is designed for people like Victor. Money buys justice more often than not. And Ethan has no money, no resources, no power except his love for his daughter and this woman who's brought chaos and light in equal measure. Easy to say when it's not your daughter on the line, Claire says quieter now. The words land like a slap. Ethan stares at her face, going blank. His jaw tightens. I didn't mean... Claire tries to take it back, immediately sees the hurt in his eyes. But it's too late. The doubt's been voiced. The fear's been named. And suddenly the small house feels even smaller walls closing in air, too thick to breathe properly. They don't fight exactly, but tension fills the space like smoke you can't see but can't escape. Neither knows how to fix this, how to protect Lily while standing up to Victor, how to choose love when love puts everyone at risk, how to be brave when being brave might cost them everything that matters. On the fourth night after the lawyer's visit, Mrs. Brennan shows up uninvited. Knocks once, then walks right in like she owns the place, which in a way she does, having been part of Ethan's life longer than anyone except Lily. She finds them sitting at opposite ends of the couch, careful distance between them, both staring at nothing. "You two are giving up?" she states flatly. No preamble, no gentle lead-in. "We're being realistic." Ethan counters, voice tired. Realistic or scared? She looks between them with those eyes that have seen everything. Raised 5 kids of her own, buried a husband, knows more about life than both of them combined. I lost my Henry 20 years ago. Spent 5 years thinking I had to handle grief alone because that's what strong people do. You know what I learned? Being strong means asking for help, means standing together even when it's hard. Maybe especially when it's hard. Victor Whitman can take Lily away, Ethan says, and the fear in his voice is raw, unguarded. Can he, though? Mrs. Brennan leans forward, elbows on her knees. "You're a good father, Ethan. Best father I've seen in 50 years of living on this street. You've got community support. You've got character witnesses. You think any judge would take a child from a loving home based on rich man's threats. He has money. Money buys lawyers. Lawyers win cases. Not always. Sometimes love wins. Sometimes standing up for what's right matters more than how much you can spend. And sometimes communities rally around their own when powerful people try to bully them." She turns to Claire. "And you? Running away again won't save anyone. You think going back to Minneapolis protects Ethan and Lily. Your father will still have power over them. He'll use it whenever you step out of line. The only way to be free is to actually be free, not to trade one cage for another." Her words settle heavy between them. They sit in silence, processing, trying to believe her when everything feels impossible. Finally, Ethan speaks, voice small. "What do we do?" "Fight. Together. Get your own lawyer. Build your case. Show Victor he can't bully his way through Cedar Falls. Show him this town protects its own." "With what money?" "With community money." Mrs. Brennan pulls out her phone, shows them a screen. "Ray's already started a fund. Everyone's donating. $5,000 so far. Small amounts from everyone who knows you, everyone whose life you've touched over the years." Ethan stares at the screen. Sees names he recognizes. Ray. Mrs. Patterson, parents from Lily's school, the owner of the hardware store where he buys supplies. Even Daniel, the formerly homeless man, donated $10 he probably can't spare. "You're not alone in this," Mrs. Brennan says gently. "You just have to let us help." The next morning, Ethan checks the fund again. $7,000 now, growing by the hour as word spreads through Cedar Falls. Small donations adding up to something significant. People he's helped over the years helping him back. The community showing up the way communities do when one of their own is threatened. Claire sets up meetings with local news, careful ones controlled. Tells her story without revealing everything. Not about wealth or glamour, about control and choice, about a daughter choosing herself over her father's plans. Public opinion starts to shift, at least locally. Not everyone sympathizes, but enough do to matter. Detective Sarah Morgan, the one who helped Ethan after Sarah died, who's stayed in touch over the years, visits. She's been looking into Graham Sutton, her personal time, her own curiosity, because something about this whole situation bothered her. Found things, she explains, spreading documents across Ethan's kitchen table. 3 previous broken engagements. One woman filed a restraining order that was quietly settled with money. Pattern of controlling behavior. Evidence that the Sutton family uses marriages for business leverage. This could help show Claire wasn't just running from her father. She was running from someone dangerous. The pieces start falling into place. Building a defense. Building a case. Not just for Ethan's custody of Lily, but for Claire's right to choose her own life. Then Victor's next move surprises them. He doesn't send more lawyers. He calls Claire directly. Her old phone that she hasn't turned on in weeks, buried in her bag. She finds it, charges it, sees 57 missed calls from her father, finds one voicemail from this morning. "We need to talk. Just you and me. No lawyers." "Please, Claire." The please breaks her. She's never heard her father say please in her entire life. They agree to meet at a neutral location. Small diner outside town where neither of them is likely to be recognized. Claire brings Ethan for support, but he waits in the truck, giving them space. Victor looks older somehow in the harsh diner lighting. Tired. The silver in his hair seems more prominent. Lines around his eyes deeper. Shadows under them that weren't there before. He's wearing casual clothes, jeans, and a button-down which Claire's never seen him wear outside the house. Always suits. Always armor. They sit across from each other in a booth with cracked vinyl seats. Order coffee, neither of them touches. "I'm not here to threaten you." Victor starts, hands wrapped around his mug like he needs something to hold on to. "Then why?" "Because I've been thinking. About what you said. About control and fear." He stares at his coffee like it might have answers. "Your mother said something similar. Before she died. She said I loved her, but I loved controlling her more. That if I didn't let go, I'd lose you the same way I lost her." Claire stays quiet, lets him continue. "I didn't listen. Thought I knew better. Thought money and status would make you happy, make you safe. Keep you from ever feeling what I felt growing up. But you're not safe. You're miserable. And that's on me. Dad." He holds up a hand. "Let me finish. Please, I watched you on that street. Watched you defend that man. Watched you choose him over everything I've built. And you know what I saw." He looks up, eyes red. "I saw fire in your eyes. I haven't seen since your mother was alive. Since before she got sick. Since before I controlled her into submission." His voice breaks slightly. "You love him. Really love him. Not because he can give you anything. Because he already has. He gave you something I never could. Freedom. The freedom to just be yourself." Claire's eyes fill. "I don't know if I can forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. I'm not asking for forgiveness." Victor's voice is steady despite the tears he's trying to hold back. "I'm asking for a chance to be a better father, a chance to support your choices even when I don't understand them, a chance to be part of your life on your terms, not mine." "What are you saying I'm saying?" He takes a breath. "I'll drop the lawsuit. I'll call off the lawyers. I'll leave Ethan and Lily alone. I'll tell Graham Sutton to go to hell and find another way to save the company." Claire's breath catches. "Really?" "On one condition. Stay in touch. Call me sometimes. Let me try to be the father I should have been from the start. Don't shut me out completely. I need to know you're okay, even if okay means living in a house I don't understand with a man I'm still not sure about. I can do that." Claire whispers through tears. "I want that, Dad. I want you in my life. Just differently than before." Victor stands, leaves money on the table for coffee. Neither of them drank. "Your mother would be proud of you," he says, voice rough. "Not because of what you're building, because of who you chose to become. You're braver than either of us ever were." He walks out without looking back. Shoulders straight, dignity intact, despite everything. Claire sits stunned. Can't move, can't process. When she finally returns to the truck, Ethan takes one look at her face and asks what happened. She tells him. About Victor's apology. about him dropping everything, about the condition. "He let me go," she says, voice filled with wonder. "Finally. Really let me go." Ethan pulls her close across the console, holds her while she cries. Not sad tears, but relief. The weight she's carried for months, maybe years, finally lifting. The terror that her father would destroy everything she loves, dissipating like morning fog. That evening they sit on the porch with Lily between them, watching stars appear one by one. Cedar Falls settles into its quiet rhythm. "Are the scary men gone?" Lily asks, voice small. "Yeah, sweetheart," Ethan says. "They're gone. Forever, forever." Lily processes this seriously. "Good. I didn't like them. They made you and Miss Claire look sad all the time." Claire kisses the top of her head. "I'm not sad anymore. Because you have us." "Exactly, because I have you. Sometimes choosing love means accepting that the world will try to punish you for it. But if you stand your ground, if you refuse to let fear decide, sometimes the world backs down. Sometimes the people trying to control you realize they're really just trying to control their own terror of loss. Sometimes fathers learn that loving someone means letting them go. Sometimes communities learn to lift each other up. Sometimes love proves it's stronger than any contract or merger or fortune. And sometimes, just sometimes, letting go is the bravest thing anyone can do. 3 months pass like pages turning in a book you can't put down. Autumn settles fully into Cedar Falls painting trees in colors that take Claire's breath away every time she steps outside with Sarah's camera. She's getting good at photography, really good. Ray displays some of her prints in the laundromat, and people start asking where they can buy them. Small sales at first. $20 here, $50 there. But it adds up. It means something. She still works at Ray's most days, but now she's saving money. Has plans. Dreams she's allowed to chase. Ethan helps her set up a small website showing her work. Nothing fancy, but it's hers. Every photograph tells a story. Daniel folding his laundry with care. Brennan baking cookies with Lily. Ethan working on the porch at sunset, hands covered in wood shavings from the rocking chair he's building. Real people, real moments. The kind of beauty most people overlook. Victor calls every Sunday. The conversations are awkward at first, stilted like learning a new language. But slowly they find rhythm. He tells her about work, about dismantling the merger with the Suttons, about the new direction he's taking the company. She tells him about photography, about the laundromat, about Lily's latest drawings. He doesn't understand her choices, but he's trying. That's enough. That's everything. One evening in late October, exactly 4 months after that rain-soaked night, Ethan finds Claire on the porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink that look impossible, look painted, look like hope has a color, and this is it. He sits beside her, nervous in a way she hasn't seen before. Hands fidgeting with something in his pocket. "Remember when I said I wanted to do this right?" he asks. "When things settled? When we knew we had a chance?" Claire's heart starts racing. "Yeah, things have settled. We have a chance. More than a chance." He pulls out a small box, nothing fancy, probably from the discount store, same as her shoes. Opens it to reveal a simple silver band with a small stone that catches the dying light. It's not much. Can't afford much. But it's real. Like us. "Claire, you walked into my life soaking wet and lost, and you turned everything upside down in the best possible way. You made Lily smile again. You made me feel again. You reminded me that being scared of loss isn't the same as being alive. And I don't want to be scared anymore. I don't want to wait for the right moment, because this is the right moment. Every moment with you is the right moment." He takes a breath. "Marry me. Be Lily's mom officially. Be my partner in everything. Let's build this life together, paperwork and all. I don't want to wait for perfect. I just want you. Forever. Starting now. Claire's crying, laughing both at once. Can't speak past the lump in her throat. Nods frantically. Yes, 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 1,000 times. Yes. He slides the ring on her finger. It fits. Of course it fits. Because sometimes things just work out when they're meant to. They kiss finally. Really kiss. The first kiss they've been holding back for months, saving for when it meant something permanent, something unbreakable. It's soft and fierce at once, gentle and desperate, everything they've been holding back pouring out in this moment. From inside the house they hear Lily shriek with joy. She's been watching through the window face pressed against the glass. She bursts through the door, throws herself at both of them, with the force of someone who's been waiting for this moment as long as they have. Does this mean Miss Claire is staying forever and ever and ever, forever and ever and ever? Ethan confirms, pulling both his girls close. They have the wedding in Ray's backyard 2 months later. Just before Christmas. Nothing fancy, just the people who matter. Ray officiates, having gotten ordained online specifically for this. Mrs. Brennan cries through the entire ceremony. Happy tears, joy, tears, the kind that say, "This is right, this is good, this is how love is supposed to look." Lily serves as flower girl, of course, wearing a dress she picked out herself that's covered in butterflies and doesn't match anything else, but is perfect because she's perfect. She takes her job very seriously, tosses petals with precision, makes sure every single one lands exactly where it should. Victor attends, sits in the back, watches his daughter marry a man who has nothing but love to offer, doesn't object, doesn't interfere, just watches. And when they say "I do" when Ethan kisses his daughter, when Claire becomes Claire. Hayes Victor smiles, small smile barely there, but real, genuine. The smile of a father finally learning what it means to let go. Afterward, at the reception in Ray's laundromat, because where else would they celebrate, Daniel gives them a gift. A framed photo he found at a thrift store. 3 people who aren't them, but could be. Father, mother, daughter. All holding hands. All smiling. The glass is cracked, but Daniel taped it carefully. He hands it to Claire with shaking hands. "For your new family," he says quietly. "Every family deserves a picture." Claire hugs him, doesn't care that he smells like the streets, doesn't care about anything except that this man she once helped is helping her back, is showing her that kindness always circles around, always comes back. That night, after the party winds down, after Lily falls asleep between them on the couch, exhausted and happy after the last guest leaves and the house goes quiet, Ethan and Claire sit in the dark living room. "We did it," Claire whispers. "We actually did it. Never doubted it." "Liar. You doubted it plenty." "Okay, yeah. Maybe a little." He pulls her close. "But we're here. We made it. You, me, Lily. Our family, our family." Claire tests the words, loves how they sound. "Never thought I'd have this. Never thought I'd want this. But you do. More than anything." They sit in comfortable silence, watching Lily sleep. Watching their daughter sleep. Because that's what she is now, legally and emotionally and in every way that matters. Their daughter. Their family. Their life built from nothing but choice and courage and love that refused to quit, even when quitting would have been easier. 6 months later, Claire discovers she's pregnant. The news comes on an ordinary Tuesday morning, 2 pink lines on a stick that change everything again. She stares at them, terrified and thrilled in equal measure. Ethan cries when she tells him. Happy tears this time, only happy tears. They tell Lily together, worried she might feel replaced or jealous or scared. But Lily just grins that gap-toothed grin that's starting to close as her adult teeth grow in. I'm gonna be a big sister. Best day ever. She immediately starts planning. Names room arrangements, whether the baby will like butterflies or dinosaurs or both. Makes lists in her careful 6-year-old handwriting illustrations in the margins. Everything organized and thought out because she's her father's daughter through and through. The pregnancy goes smooth. Claire works at Ray's until her 7th month, then switches to photography full-time because her back can't handle the lifting anymore. Her website grows. People from Minneapolis from her old life find her work and order prints. Irony isn't lost on her that she's finally making money from the wealthy people she ran away from, but now it's on her terms, her art, her choice. Victor sends baby gifts. Too many. Expensive ones that Ethan wants to refuse, but Claire accepts because it's her father's way of trying, of showing love in the only language he knows. They compromise. Keep some, donate most to families who need them more. James Ethan Hayes arrives on a spring morning when butterflies return to Cedar Falls right on schedule, like Lily predicted. He comes fast, barely time to get to the hospital. Ethan holds Claire's hand through labor, reminds her to breathe, tells her she's strong, she's doing great. Almost there. When James takes his first breath and wails loud enough to announce his arrival to the entire maternity ward, Lily's first question is, "Can I hold him?" "Please, please, please." They let her. Carefully supervised pillows propping her arms, but they let her. And the look on her face, the pure wonder as she stares at this tiny human who's her brother. Her family makes every hard moment worth it. He's so small, she whispers, afraid to speak too loud. And he has your nose, Daddy. Poor kid, Ethan jokes, but his voice breaks with emotion. Victor visits the hospital, holds his grandson with shaking hands, this man who built an empire but looks terrified of a 7-pound baby. "I never held you this small," he tells Claire. "Your mother did all that. I was always too busy, always working, always chasing the next deal." "You're holding him now," Claire says gently. "That's what matters." He stays an hour, asks if he can visit regularly, be part of James's life. Not as CEO Victor Whitman, but as Grandpa. Just Grandpa. "We'd like that," Claire says. And means it. Life settles into a new rhythm. Newborn chaos that's exhausting and beautiful and exactly what they signed up for. Lily helps with everything. Takes her big sister role seriously. Insists on reading James' bedtime stories, even though he's too young to understand. She reads her favorite books, the ones about princesses and butterflies, and families who find each other in unexpected ways. Claire photographs it all. The sleepless nights, the first smiles, Ethan changing diapers with the concentration he brings to everything, Lily singing lullabies she makes up on the spot. Their family growing and changing and becoming something neither of them could have imagined that rainy night 4 years ago. One evening when James is 3 months old, sleeping peacefully in his bassinet, Lily doing homework at the kitchen table, Ethan and Claire sit on the porch watching another sunset paint Cedar Falls in impossible colors. "Think we'll ever have boring, normal lives?" Claire asks, leaning against him. "God, I hope not." Ethan kisses the top of her head. "Boring sounds terrible. We have a newborn, a 6-year-old who insists she can teach the baby to draw butterflies, a father-in-law who's trying to figure out how to be a grandfather, a community that crowdfunded our legal defense, a house that still needs repairs we can't quite afford. Sounds perfect. You have low standards. The best standards." He turns her face toward his. "You know what I was thinking about today? What that night? The rainy night. How close I came to just walking past you. How easy it would have been to mind my own business. Keep my head down. Get home to Lily without getting involved. But you didn't. But I didn't. And my life got complicated and messy and hard and absolutely perfect because I stopped. Because I saw you. Because I decided that being a good person means doing something even when it's inconvenient. I'm really glad you stopped. Me too. Best decision I ever made. Opening that door. They sit in comfortable silence as stars appear one by one overhead. Inside, they hear Lily singing softly to James, making up a song about how brothers are pretty cool, even though they don't do much yet except sleep and eat and make funny faces. You know what the best part is, Claire says after a while. Not the happy ending, the journey. Learning that family isn't about blood or money or doing things the right way. It's about showing up, choosing each other, building something real from whatever pieces you have. Sounds like something you should write down. Put on one of your photos. Maybe I will. The house behind them glows warm in the twilight. Their house, their family, their life built from burnt pancakes and folded laundry and second chances and first loves, and the particular courage it takes to open a door when every instinct says, keep it locked. Sometimes the greatest stories start with the simplest gestures. A man offering shelter to a stranger in the rain. A woman brave enough to accept help from someone she doesn't know. A little girl ready to share her daddy with someone new. A community rallying around their own when powerful people try to tear them apart. Sometimes home isn't where you're born, or where you grow up, or where you're supposed to be according to some plan you didn't write. Sometimes home is wherever someone sees you drowning and throws out a line. Wherever someone notices your feet hurt and leaves you shoes. Wherever someone makes burnt toast and calls it breakfast. Wherever love grows in spite of obstacles, not because there weren't any. Sometimes the best families are the ones you choose. The ones you build from nothing but hope and determination, and the stubborn refusal to give up on each other even when the world says you don't make sense together. And sometimes, just sometimes, all it takes is one open door on one rainy night to change everything. To start a chain reaction of kindness and courage that ripples out in ways you never see coming. To prove that love isn't about what you have to offer, it's about what you're willing to give, what you're brave enough to build. What you choose when choosing is hard, but choosing is everything. 1 year later, Claire's photography business thrives. She's been featured in a local magazine, her story too good not to tell. Rich girl runs away, finds herself in a laundromat, falls in love with a single dad, builds a life from nothing. It's the kind of story people want to believe in because it says you can start over, says it's never too late to choose yourself, says love wins sometimes if you fight for it. She still works at Ray's 1 day a week, not because she needs the money anymore, because it reminds her where she came from. Keeps her grounded. Lets her fold laundry beside Daniel, who's been sober 6 months now, who has a part-time job and an apartment, and a future he's building 1 day at a time. Ethan quit the night delivery route. Community fund paid off enough debt that he could afford to. Sleeps more now. Smiles more. Plays with his kids without exhaustion dragging him down. Built them a treehouse in the backyard that Lily declared is the best treehouse in the entire world, possibly the universe. Lily's 7.5, now the half very important to her. Has all her adult teeth no gap anymore, which makes her look older, more grown up. She's teaching James to walk, holds his hands, while he stumbles around the living room patient as anyone Claire's ever seen. Victor visits every month, takes Lily and James for ice cream, teaches Lily about technology in ways that make it fun instead of intimidating. He's learning to be a grandfather, learning that love doesn't have to come with conditions or control, learning that letting go doesn't mean losing someone. Sometimes it means finally being able to keep them. On the anniversary of that rainy night, Claire and Ethan take flowers to Sarah's grave. They go together now, all of them. It's not sad anymore, just respectful. grateful, letting Sarah know that the family she started is growing, that Lily's happy, that Ethan found love again and it doesn't diminish what they had, that grief and joy can coexist, that moving forward isn't leaving behind. Lily puts a butterfly drawing on the gravestone. "For Mommy in heaven," she says seriously. So she knows I still remember her. And so she knows Miss Claire, Mama Claire is really nice and she'd like her. Mama Claire. The name still makes Claire's throat tight every time she hears it. That evening the whole family gathers at their house for dinner. Not just them anymore. Ray comes. Mrs. Brennan, Daniel, Detective Sarah Morgan with her new girlfriend, a dozen people who've become family through shared history and choice and showing up when it mattered. They crowd into the small house that's even smaller now, with so many people but somehow still has room, always has room, because that's what this house does. Expands to fit whoever needs shelter, whoever needs belonging, whoever shows up looking for home. Over dinner, loud and chaotic and perfect, Lily stands up with her juice box raised like champagne. "I want to make a toast," everyone quiets down. Faces turning toward this 7-year-old who's learned about toasts from watching movies with Mrs. Brennan. "To our family," Lily says solemnly. "The one we were born with and the one we chose. And to the people who help other people even when it's raining." Her eyes find her father. "And to Daddy for having the biggest heart in the whole world. And to Mama Claire for being brave enough to knock on our door." "I didn't knock," Claire corrects gently. "Your dad found me." "Same thing." Lily grins. "You found each other. That's what matters." Everyone raises their glasses, mugs, juice boxes, to finding each other, to choosing each other, to families built from burnt toast and good hearts and doors that open when they need to. After everyone leaves after the kids are asleep, after the house returns to its quiet, breathing rhythm, Ethan and Claire stand on the porch one more time. It's become their spot, their ritual, the place they process the day, make plans, dream dreams. "Think we'll ever run out of things to talk about out here?" Claire asks. "Not a chance. We've got at least 60 more years of porch conversations ahead of us. Maybe 70 if we're lucky. That's a lot of sunsets. That's a lot of everything." Ethan pulls her close. "And I want every single one of them. Every conversation, every sunrise and sunset, every burnt dinner and successful breakfast. Every kid's homework crisis and sleepless night and ordinary beautiful moment. I want it all. With you. You've got me. Forever." She looks at her rings, still can't believe they're real sometimes. All of this. Our life. Our family. It's everything I never knew I needed. Same. They stand wrapped in each other watching Cedar Falls settle into night. Streetlights flicker on. Windows glow warm in neighboring houses. Somewhere a dog barks. Car drives by. Ordinary sounds of ordinary life that feels anything but ordinary when you've fought for it. When you've chosen it. When you've built it from nothing but hope and stubbornness and love that refused to quit. And maybe that's the real magic of it all. Not that Claire found Ethan or Ethan found Claire. Not that Victor learned to let go or that community rallied or that love conquered all. Those things matter. But the real magic is in the choice. The daily choice to show up, to try, to burn toast and laugh about it, to fold laundry with care, to notice when someone's feet hurt, to open doors even when it's inconvenient, to build families from whatever pieces you're given and make something beautiful anyway. Because that's what love is, not the fairy tale version. The real version, the one where you're tired and broke and everything's hard, but you choose each other anyway. Where you mess up and apologize and try again. Where some days are terrible and some days are perfect and most days are somewhere in between. But you show up for all of them because that's what you promised. That's what you chose. And sometimes in those moments when you're standing on a porch watching stars appear while your family sleeps safely inside. When you can hear your daughter breathing in one room and your son in another, and your person is wrapped around you like you're the only thing keeping them anchored to earth. You realize something profound. You realize that home was never a place. It was always a feeling. And that feeling is this being seen, being chosen, being loved not despite your flaws but including them, being part of something bigger than yourself that you helped build with your own hands and your own courage and your own heart that kept beating even when it wanted to stop. That's home. That's family. That's everything that matters packed into one small house on one small street in one small town that most people have never heard of. And it's enough. It's everything. Before we say goodbye, we want to thank you for being part of this journey with Ethan, Claire, and Lily. Stories like these remind us that kindness changes lives, that opening doors for strangers matters, that choosing yourself is brave, that families come in all shapes and sizes, and the best ones are built from love, not obligation. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. It helps us share these stories with people who need them. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss our next story about real people facing real challenges with courage. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message today, someone who's struggling to choose themselves, someone who's lost or searching or building something new, share this video with them. Sometimes the right story at the right time changes everything. Drop a comment below and tell us, have you ever had someone open a door for you when you needed it most? Or have you been the one opening doors for others? We love hearing your stories. They remind us why we do this. And remember, you're not alone in your struggles. Somewhere out there, someone sees you. Someone's rooting for you. Someone's ready to hand you shoes when your feet hurt, ready to make burnt toast and call it breakfast, ready to choose you, even when you're certain you're not worth choosing. You are worth it. You are seen. You are enough. Until next time, keep opening doors. Keep being kind. Keep believing that love wins. From all of us at our channel, thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of our community. Thank you for believing in stories where kindness matters and love conquers, not because it's easy, but because people choose it anyway. See you in the next story.